Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal Venerable, see playlist for other chapters and novels. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 638 Time 10. Hades, spirit-eating sword, which had completely assimilated with the Black Shadow, was already beyond the scope of simple power. It seemed to possess its own instinct, revealing a strong sense of gluttony as it devoured Laplace's body with serrated teeth. However, perhaps because Laplace's body boasted such a huge size, Hades' spirit-eating sword took a considerable amount of time to fully devour Laplace. Moreover, screech, screech, terrifying and bizarre cries rang out from Laplace's body every time the serrated teeth devoured parts of him. Those were clearly cries of pain, but there were also hints of joyous laughter. Ha, ha, very fun. Laplace seemed to be truly laughing. Despite his existence being devoured, the joy in his loud laughter went beyond simple enjoyment and seemed closer to absolute bliss. His reaction was completely different from the others who had been devoured before. Open hollow corner bracket son, I think this guy has lost his marbles. I agree. Yin Wu should have noticed right away from the time Laplace wore rabbit ears on his bald head and spoke nonsensical things in a low-pitched tone. Kronos, who could boast of seeing many crazy people throughout his long life, looked at Laplace tiredly. And if things kept up at the current speed, Yin Wu felt that he would also turn crazy, so he pushed Vigrid deeper into Laplace's eye. Open hollow corner bracket hey. Stop pushing it deeper in. I can feel the terrifying bastard. Did anyone tell you that you need to keep your sword shape? Open hollow corner bracket what? You bastard. Yin Wu ignored Kronos' complaints, slashing with Vigrid once again. A sword thunder strike detonated once more. Dark red flames blazed across Laplace's huge body, creating elongated oval shapes. Yin Wu did this to break Laplace up into smaller pieces, so that Hades' spirit-eating sword could quickly devour him as soon as possible. The spring of time is spinning faster. The current speed is 4x. The spring of time is spinning much faster. The current speed is 8x. An enormous amount of overload is being transmitted to your body. Boom. A foul-smelling bodily fluid spurted from the wide gap on Laplace's true body like a fountain. The fluid contained the nature of chaos, and it was so poisonous that it could melt one's existence upon contact. However, before the fluid could even reach Yin Wu, it evaporated and disappeared from the tremendous heat that Yin Wu emanated. Of course, with formless poison, Yin Wu had nothing to worry about. Moreover, Yin Wu's constitution was based on the Yin soul. On the contrary, negative environmental factors may work to Yin Wu's benefit. Ha, 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 ha. Being shredded into pieces, Laplace still did not stop laughing and his tentacles constantly shot out. Along with his illusory change, he tried to disturb Yin Wu with various attacks that raged like a storm. Unfortunately, his attacks couldn't pierce through the wall of the dead that surrounded and protected Yin Wu. Open hollow corner bracket stop it, son. Boom, boom, boom. Open hollow corner bracket how can a son throw his own father into such a sticky, dark, and weird place? This is abuse. Are you trying to send me to my grave? Kronos, constant screams were a bonus. This feels nasty. Stop it. And then slice. Once Vigrid finally pierced the last open eyeball, Yin Wu could see a black rabbit-eared bald man surrounded by strange cells. Oh ho, you've made it all the way here. With eyes wide open, Laplace clapped his hands together. Although he was on the verge of death, his lingering smile showed that he was truly enjoying this last moment. Thinking that no good could come by responding to such a pervert with a bizarre masochistic hobby, Yin Wu swung Vigrid down on Laplace's head. Stop. Just then, Laplace suddenly raised his arms up. Wanting to know what Laplace had to say, Yin Wu allowed Vigrid to stop right in front of Laplace's throat. What? I surrender. So, how about you go easy on me? Yin Wu's brow twitched, since Laplace had fought and constantly interrupted Yin Wu throughout all these years. This declaration of surrendering felt suspicious, at best. I'll tell you everything you want to know, and I'll cooperate with you in good faith, so can you please put away your sword? Quote, If you see my cute ears and still want to harm me, that means you're a very bad person. As he spoke, Laplace's rabbit ears cutely twitched. At the same time, he put his hands together neatly to the corners of his mouth, and his eyes blinked like a certain cat in boots. Yianwu felt the urge to end Laplace's life immediately. If a black muscular man with copper-toned skin tried to show off his cute side with a low-pitched voice mixed with a nasal tone, it truly was a terrifying sight to behold. As he looked at such a being, Yianwu lowered Vigrid, which had been placed right in front of Laplace's neck. "All right, I'll let you off. Oh, then, instead, I have some conditions." "What could those be?" Yianwu smiled. "First, you die, / you have succeeded in devouring the player, Laplace. The concept of death has succeeded in being implemented onto Laplace. All gods of death are satisfied. All demons of death are pleased. Open corner bracket. How could you do this to me, your close friend? How can you hold a sword in front of such a cute and adorable creature with innocent bunny ears? In your previous life, # must have been an evil and cold-hearted villain." Mumble, mumble, grumble, grumble. Laplace, who woke up again as a spirit, squatted on the ground. He constantly muttered to himself as if he was a castaway sitting alone in the rain. Although he clearly expressed his intention to surrender, Laplace was dissatisfied that Yianwu chose to swing his sword. Of course, his appearance had not significantly changed. Yianwu had told Laplace to stop wearing such a weird outfit, but Laplace did not even consider those words. Laplace simply said something along the lines of his current appearance being his true identity. In the end, Yianwu had no choice but to let it be, as Laplace stubbornly argued like a child, stating that he would never cooperate if Yianwu did not let him remain in his current form. If he had his way, Yianwu would have long ago thrown Laplace into the purgatory furnace and burned him until all his evil karma was incinerated. But then, I'll be wasting time. The Sea of Time probably already noticed that Yianwu had finished his closed-door training and had started chasing after them. Right now, time was tight. Yianwu could not afford to waste time interrogating Laplace. This was also the reason why Yianwu had briefly paused when Laplace said he was going to surrender. Of course, Yianwu could not help but feel frustrated at constantly hearing Laplace's bickering. "What the hell do you mean we're close friends? Open corner bracket. We have such a close relationship. With rippling muscles and sweat we're best friends who can sympathize and understand each other. Have you already forgotten the fun times we had while holding hands?" For a moment, Yianwu felt a strong urge to just throw Laplace into the purgatory furnace. "Open hollow corner bracket son?" Kronos asked in a low voice. "Is he your type?" Though Kronos pretended to be serious, he was laughing himself silly on the inside. "Father, open hollow corner bracket what?" Yianwu could not understand how Kronos could speak in such a serious, caring tone. He stated coldly, "Unless you want to spend time stuck in that pervert once more, please keep quiet." Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. Kronos decided that nothing good would come about if he kept making fun of Yianwu, so he decided to take a step back. "It seems I didn't give birth to a child but a monster." Kronos' gaze turned to the rabbit-eared macho man. "Anyway, can't you do something to shut up that blubbering fool? I'm truly concerned that, if things continue, a scar will form in my ears." Yianwu frowned. As he was about to respond, Ananta and the head elder came to his side. They asked, "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine. It seems you're somewhat useful now." The head elder put on his glasses and scanned Yianwu from head to toe. A twinkling light could be seen in the head elder's eyes, and he immediately noticed what Yianwu had achieved over the past couple years in closed training. He noticed that Yianwu's constitution seemed to be completely opposite to the sun-related nature of the one-horned tribe. "I'm guessing you've awakened the yin sword?" "Yes." "Good, good." The head elder quietly nodded in response to Yianwu's answer. His face was filled with many different emotions. He felt a release that someone had unlocked the secrets of the yin sword, something his tribe had been seeking an answer to for many years. Moreover, the person to achieve this feat was the disciple of the Martial King, whose dream was now fulfilled. Like the Martial King said, his legend won't disappear and will continue to live on through his disciple. The head elder mumbled while nodding softly. Soon, he cleared his thoughts and narrowed his eyes. "As you just saw, even though Nyu and I went through the process of exuviation and transcendence, Alpharon did not show up. The reason is unknown, but the Sea of Time seems to be taking advantage of this opportunity to pursue something. It seems that Brahm is moving to stop them." Strength and focus returned to Yianwu's eyes. He asked, Did Brahm also go to the gathering of the supreme gods suffering from the heavenly demon disease? That's right. He said that if you want to catch a tiger, you have to go directly into the tiger's burrow. Yi and Wu let out a sigh. The Sea of Time. The reason why he jumped into plot scheming to replace Alpharon was probably because of his resentment, love, and hate towards Harmonia. It seemed that the next place Yi and Wu would have to go to would be the battlefield where all the supreme gods were gathered. At that time, it would be difficult for him to jump in as easily as he did here. Thus, knowing that the Sea of Time would do everything in their power to block him, Yi and Wu knew that it was important to find out what the Sea of Time was thinking. Laplace, what was your side planning? Everyone's gaze turned to Laplace, who grinned. To receive so much attention as an attention seeker, I am very happy. If you keep spewing nonsense, I'll throw you into the purgatory furnace and never take you out. Open corner bracket Hugh, let me get one thing straight first. The Central Bureau under Yvelk hasn't exactly gone over to the Sea of Time. They're working together at the moment because their objectives aligned. Laplace continued to chatter excitedly. Open corner bracket the two align in exactly one objective, disabling the tower's system. And the birth of a new system. A reset, that should make it clear. Reset, open corner bracket yes. The system that Alpharon is representing is very different from the one pursued by Yvelk in the Sea of Time. What kind of system are they pursuing? For the first time, Laplace's eyes, which had been full of playfulness, sharply narrowed. What else can it be? They want to do away with the present order. Yvelk considers the triangular balance of power among Alpharon, the Central Bureau, and the heavenly world, as a fundamental evil that contributes to the constant stagnation of the Tower Society, which in his eyes, should be more dynamic. The collapse of the triangular balance of power. Yi and Wu finally felt that he had glimpsed into Yvelk's inner thoughts. As the first High Guardian and Director, Yvelk lived and observed the long history of the Tower. Thus, it was not all that strange that Yvelk held some opinions and ideas about the Tower. Yi and Wu then asked, then what about the Sea of Time? Open corner bracket what the Sea of Time wants is much simpler than Yvelk's ideal. The Sea of Time wants to bring the end of days. Yi and Wu's eyes widened slightly. Because now, he knew exactly what those words meant. What the Sea of Time calls time. An apocalypse, the end of days. In other words, they intend to carry out the last part of the revelations. That only means one thing, for the being that the heavenly demon stuffed into the bottom of the tower to open his eyes. Only then will everything that happened in this world disappear as if it had all been a fleeting, short-lived dream. They're planning to resurrect the Black King. Chapter 639 Creator God 1. The Sea of Time was a group of people who worshipped and followed the Black King. Other than being mysterious and inclusive, they were similar to how the Devil Army revered the heavenly demon. However, unlike the Devil Army who abandoned their god after the heavenly demon's negligence, the Sea of Time planned on awakening the Black King themselves. Clearly, they intended to bring the end of things that was said to come at the end of the revelations. It's said in the revelations that space is a dream the Black King dreams during his sleep. And when he's awakened, everything in space will disappear like a phantom of a dream. According to this interpretation of the revelations, all creatures that exist in this world are mere illusions. And for illusions to continue existing, they need to have a place by the awakened Black King's side. So they want to contribute to awakening the Black King for this. But it's hard to tell, since I don't know their exact beliefs. Yi and Wu's gaze darkened. They're crazed apocalyptics. They're even worse than the Devil Army, which didn't say any bullshit about destroying the world. Since the gods the Devil Army and Sea of Time worshipped were on opposing ends, their beliefs were completely different. The Sea of Time had non-secular tendencies, and wholeheartedly believed in carrying out their ideals, atoning for their sins, and clearing their minds in preparation for the Day of Judgment that would come when the world disappeared. On the other hand, the Devil Army was representative of free will and placed emphasis on repelling the darkness that was trying to cover the world. Even though the Devil Army's beliefs had become more extreme as the generations passed, causing all sorts of disturbances, they were nothing compared to the dangers of the Sea of Time. Although Yi and Wu had become the Black King's successor, he had only thought about using his power and not worshipping him. If the Black King ever interfered in his path to become stronger, Yi and Wu would instantly abandon him too. He only kept the Black King's power because the Black King was on par with the heavenly demon and Jung Wu's soul had returned to him. It was the same for Kronos, who had been the Black King's apostle. From his perspective, the Sea of Time's plan to awaken the slumbering Black King at the bottom of the tower wasn't favorable. But learning that the Central Bureau and the Sea of Time aren't in cahoots is enough. The fact that they were only working together out of necessity meant their relationship could be broken whenever, so Yi and Wu organized his thoughts. Then, Yi and Wu narrowed his eyes at Laplace. He now had a general grasp of the situation, but there were still some parts that he didn't understand. Then, what are you after? Laplace was born as a king of the demonic sea, had become a high guardian solely for amusement, and was now running toward the end of things after becoming a player. Since he was technically an otherworld god, he was also possibly a follower of the Black King and wished to wake him. However, Yi and Wu didn't think he was the type to do that. Yi and Wu then asked, "You seem to move separately from Yavilki's ideals, or the greater good that the Sea of Time believes in?" Laplace raised a corner of his mouth as if the answer was obvious. "I'm joining the ride for the fun of it. I can sit next to the victor and comfortably observe the changing world." His smile was so lunatic that he almost seemed innocent. "As long as I can watch from the side, I'm satisfied. I don't need to be the one making the changes. I just want to see history change." Needless to say, Laplace declared that he was fine with his current state because Yi and Wu was also one of the main characters who would change history. Yi and Wu thought Laplace definitely wasn't in his right mind, but he became certain of one thing. Laplace didn't have any loyalty to the Sea of Time or the Central Bureau. And as long as there was something to entertain him, Laplace was a crazy bastard who could be loyal to Yi and Wu himself. Leonhardt was shocked speechless. Not only did he see the seemingly invincible High Guardians successively defeated, but Laplace, whom he had once seen in the Sea of Time, was chained and kept in check. He knew that Yi and Wu was equal to other divine beings and had become Olympus' supreme god, but only after personally seeing his power did it feel real. However, there was something else that surprised him the most. Open hollow corner bracket. That damned guy. How much did he shake the pocket watch for me to feel exhausted? The one whom Leonhardt had wanted to see for so long was there. Open hollow corner bracket. Wifey, punish him for me. You can't. Nah, he'll listen to you. Just then, Cha Jung-woo's vestige body that was complaining in front of Ananta turned upon feeling a gaze. He grinned after discovering it was Leonhardt. Open hollow corner bracket. Long time no see, Leon. Are you really Jung-woo? Open hollow corner bracket. Can't you tell by looking at me? Yi and Wu told me that you were living well. What's up with your condition? Listening to the cheeky tone and looking at that mischievous smile, Leonhardt moved toward Cha Jung-woo with trembling steps. Although he had heard from Valdebek, he couldn't help but doubt it. The closer he approached Jung-woo, the clearer Leonhardt could see the face he had missed so much. It was a stark contrast to Jung-woo's appearance when he had been poisoned and had successively been left behind by his comrades. This was the Jung-woo he had seen upon first meeting. He stretched his hand out and stroked Jung-woo's face. Open hollow corner bracket. I just got goosebumps on my arm. Cha Jung-woo stepped back, yelling in horror. Even his reactions were the same as before. Open hollow corner bracket. You bastard, you're not Leon. You must be an incarnation of the perverted bunny over there, or... Cha Jung-woo's vestige body wasn't able to continue, because Leonhardt suddenly fell to the ground with his head hung low. Leonhardt said softly, "Sorry. Open hollow corner bracket. What close hollow corner bracket? For everything I did in the past. I'm sorry I left you when you were already having a hard time. If I hadn't left back then, I left with some ridiculous excuse saying I needed to cool my head, but I honestly didn't even think about how difficult it must have been for you. I won't ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to tell you this someday." Leonhardt still had unresolved feelings. He didn't expect for things to return back to how they were, he merely wanted to apologize. If Cha Jung-woo had left behind a grave, Leonhardt would have visited it multiple times. However, there was no grave, and the world had forgotten about Cha Jung-woo as the only person who remembered and honored him. Leonhardt had been unbearably lonely. He had also been insufferably regretful, so perhaps guilt was the factor that brought him to where he was today. But still, he was now able to be reunited with Jung-woo, whom he felt grateful for. Open hollow corner bracket. Hey, don't cry. There's nothing more disgusting to watch than a guy crying. Cha Jung-woo grumbled with embarrassment, but his eyes were slightly red as well. Ananta pretended not to see anything and looked away. It seemed the two would have a lot to speak about. Ohyo. Is that so? Then, are there now 3 High Guardians including myself? Just until yesterday, we had a majority, but the numbers have dropped like this. The High Guardian, Rat Yavilk, shook his head after listening to a report from the dog Caleb. He was perplexed. However, contrary to his despondent words, he was smiling. Although 3 high guardians had died, he didn't seem to think much of it. Caleb felt chills running down his spine as he watched Yvilk. We must be mere chess pieces for Yvilk. Caleb was loyal to Yvilk because he was influenced by Yvilki's ideals, and he was ready to sacrifice himself if necessary. Because he had lived a long and boring life, he had no attachments to his survival, and he thought going out with a bang would be reward enough. However, that didn't mean Caleb was going to force his values on others. He was just shocked by Yvilki's reaction because there had been some among the guardians who followed Yvilk out of personal greed for power. At the same time, he also understood Yvilki's response. He looked at the bead spinning in Yvilki's palm like a top. As long as Yvilk had the system key, which was a combination of 11 keys, Yvilk didn't need to be concerned with how many High Guardians died. If he really wanted to, he could do everything without us anyway. Yvilk was someone who'd use everyone to his advantage if it meant he could accomplish his mission, even at the price of his own life. He reminds me of someone, now that I think about it. The guy who was as problematic as the Martial King and had caused the Bureau trouble from a long while ago flashed through Caleb's head. That guy was someone who couldn't even be called a player anymore. What was it again? Abuser. Caleb recalled what the system called that guy. Since 2 similar beings have begun a game of chicken, it's a matter of who arrives at their destination first. Caleb swallowed as he thought about the unpredictable battle, then something else occurred to him. No, there are 2 other people at the starting line, I suppose. He knew that one of them was Harmonia, and the other was. Caleb slowly turned around, feeling a focused gaze on him. He noticed that Yvilk was already addressing the owner of the gaze. Oh hio, why are you standing there? Come in. You seemed busy. Oh hio, that's the funniest thing a tactless person like you has ever said. When did you become so thoughtful? Yvilk spoke cynically, but the man who entered the room ignored it. The pale man had long, blonde hair resembling a lion's mane, and impressionable arrogant eyes. Sparks heated the air as he moved, and he exuded a suffocating pressure. He had no inclination of respecting others. It was how one would expect a king who never needed to respect anyone from birth to act. However, the arrogant attitude fit the blonde man well. I'll try to be tactful from now on. Oh hio, of course. More importantly, the blonde man fixed a covetous look on the bead that was spinning on Yvilki's palm as if he didn't wish to continue the small talk any longer. Is that key the item you said you'd give me? Please speak the facts. This will only be given to you if you prove that you qualify to be the new creator god, correct? You aren't deceiving me, I hope. Did you already forget we pledged on the system? I want that now. No, we can't do that. You're younger than me, but you're already showing signs of memory loss. How can you prove to be qualified at this rate? If you spoke disrespectfully to me a long time ago, you would have died already. There's nothing more pathetic than people who are stuck in the past, talking about their prime. Oh hio. Caleb felt sweat drip down his back. When the two had a war of nerves, he felt like he was being beaten up in the middle. Yvilk aside, he didn't know why the blonde man was picking a fight. The man should have been trying to get on Yvilki's good side to obtain the key, and had learned that that probably wasn't enough. As Yvilk said, he also hadn't been awakened for that long, and was perhaps stuck in the past. If that was the case, then the possibility that the man was the system key's master was near zero. Alpharon couldn't be replaced so easily. Although he was once strong enough to bring down Kronos, who had been the king of gods, he had probably lost most of his powers after suffering from heavenly demon disease. Caleb didn't know what he was thinking. No, I guess there's no need to be concerned about that. Even if someone other than him is the replacement, it doesn't hurt us at all. However, Caleb guessed that the blonde man would become the replacement in the end. His instincts were telling him so, the senses that were trained over the long time he spent as a high guardian. He thought, under the arrogant mask, the blonde man would have a completely different side to him. Since he's a cruel and clever warrior who took the throne even though he was kicked out. Spark. Blinding yellow lights flashed as the blonde man smiled viciously. This will be the symbol that represents the new king. Protect it well. I'll kill the rebels who dare to claim themselves as kings, and return soon. Under the monocle, Yvilki's unreadable eyes wrinkled as he smiled. Then I'll be waiting here, Zeus. Chapter 640 Creator God 2. I've come pretty far, now that I look at it. Brahm laughed wearily at the sight before him, where rays of light descended onto an endless green horizon. The god, Odin has entered the instant stage, Garden of the Gods. The god, Jade Emperor, has entered the instant stage, Garden of the Gods. The Garden of the Gods was a name for the temporary stage that was created for the pledges to be carried out. It was rather flashy for a location that would disappear once everything was finished. It must be because of their trifling pride. 2 conditions were required of those who attempted to enter this garden. The first condition was that they needed to have been afflicted with heavenly demon disease, and the second was that they needed to have been supreme gods or in positions at that level in their respective societies. Only those who could prove they were kings were able to stand here. And because they were beings at the pinnacle of all divine beings, their arrogance and confidence were towering. They believed that only they were true gods. They didn't acknowledge the beings they ruled over as equals. Brahm had left the heavenly world because he had detested this system, so he felt disgusted having to see it again. He believed that they were fish in a small pond who didn't know how vast the world truly was. Although quite a lot of time had passed since they were trapped in the tower, they looked ever the same. It was clear they still hadn't grasped reality. I guess I can't really say anything since I was once just like them. Brahm recalled the long ago past when he was Brahma in Mount Sumeru, and smiled wryly. Anyway, things will come to an end here. Is that it? Soon, the real creator god, the master of the combined system key, and Alpharon's replacement would be decided here. The chosen one will be the god who represents the godly societies and takes control of the tower, eventually standing against the heavenly demon. Brahm felt bitter as he continued to think, suddenly missing the cigarettes he had quit a long time ago. It wasn't good for his health, but it would alleviate his annoyance and emotions of futileness. No, I guess it wouldn't matter if I smoked a few. The only reason why Brahm had quit was because she had said she didn't like the smell. Then, when she left, he hadn't even thought about touching it even after learning about Ananta's existence. He thought she had died, but she was actually alive. Not only that, but she had schemed the current situation at hand and had played them all this time. He wondered if there was still a need for him to refrain from smoking. Brahm opened up a subspace and pulled out a cigarette. His blood felt enlivened because it had been such a long while since he smelled this scent. He was just about to snap his fingers to light a fire when he remembered the young Sesha smiling at him. This is ridiculous. Perhaps because she resembled her grandmother, Sesha always nagged the tribe members who smoked. And because of that, there had been a ban on smoking in the tribe for a while. Thus, if Brahm started smoking again he would most likely be scolded. A lot. Brahm grinned cynically and dropped the cigarette on the ground, crushed it with his foot. Ha! Still, he felt his annoyance slightly dissipate after thinking of the adorable Sesha. Just then, he lifted his head at the message that suddenly popped up in front of him. Zeus has entered the instant stage, Garden of the Gods. Looks like everyone's here. Everyone who has made a pledge is here. All connections to the outside are blocked. It is expected that you refrain from actions that are against the rules while the pledge is being carried out. If the rules are broken, it is possible the system will penalize you. If anyone change their mind, please announce it now. The countdown is beginning. 10, 9, 8, 1, 0. A total of 0 people have announced their departure. The pledge will begin. The scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God has been created. Scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God. Description. In a far past that is no longer recorded, all the gods that dominated the universes and dimensions were confined to a tower because of a creature who suddenly appeared. The creature bound the gods from moving and put restraints on their power, stealing their freedom. The gods searched for ways to resist and escape the tower, but they were met with failure every time. Still, the mighty gods did not give up, and they licked their wounds over eons, waiting for the opportunity to strike back. And now, the opportunity has come. You have awakened with a pledge between the Sea of Time. The Central Bureau has combined the divided 12 system keys into one and promised to give it to you. The combined systems keys have become the only master key that can approach and edit the tower's source code. In addition, it is an all-powerful tool that has the powers of creation, harmony, and order. To obtain this key, you must prove you qualify. Now, verify that you are the rightful master of this master key. Conditions for success. 1. Commence a battle royale according to the pledge. However, the event does not matter. 2. Eliminate the qualifications of other competitors and steal their powers. 3. Remain as the final victor of the battle royale. Time limit. Qualifications. Rewards. 1. Master key. 2. Designation as the one and only God. Suddenly, intense energies began to whirl in the field and clash against each other. Do. The fields trembled, showing how great the pressure of the scenario quest was. However, it was what the gods had wanted all their lives. They had been divided into multiple societies and repeatedly fought before reconciling again and again. There was one thing the supreme gods all wanted, and that was the position as the one and only god. It was because of this particular desire that they alone wanted to be the most precious in the world, so that they could also bring down the emperors who tried to stand above them. If they had the system key in their hand, they had nothing to be afraid of. They could have the heavenly world, lower world, and even gods from other universes and other worlds at their feet. They probably intend to have the tower as their holy territory and not as a prison, Brahm scoffed as he sensed the hidden desire exuding from the murderous auras. No matter how much they boasted, in the end, they were no different from the power struggles mortals had. Now, he wondered if he had gotten rid of his cigarette prematurely with a frown. Open hollow corner bracket who's this? If it isn't the half-god Brahma. Brahm turned toward the familiar voice with an expression void of emotion. It's been a while, Odin. He could see the leader of Asgard, Odin, standing there with a wide smirk on his face. The scenario quest had begun, but no one began to battle royale. They needed time to probe each other's powers, and they didn't want to step up first and become worn out from fighting first. Open hollow corner bracket what? Open hollow corner bracket Brahma. Open hollow corner bracket why's he here? The supreme gods who heard Odin's voice stopped looking warily at each other and turned toward Brahm's direction. They knew him as a half-god who had thrown away his high position and descended to the lower world, a loser who had been the leader of a large society like Deva and had immense power but still left. It was what the heavenly world thought of Brahm, and Brahm himself couldn't help but feel annoyed. He hadn't wanted to attract their attention. It seemed Odin was trying to sacrifice the weakest out of all of them to speed up the battle royale. It was such an obvious scheme that it wasn't funny. Odin, thinking Brahm was feeling intimidated, smiled even wider. I heard you were left, am I wrong? No, you're right, can't you tell? I've already almost died once, so it's difficult for me to even maintain my status as a mortal. Brahm decided to jump into things headfirst now that he was already caught, since his target was also the system key. Open hollow corner bracket aha. And you decided to come here. Odin looked Brahm up and down, then burst out laughing. He thought Brahm might have had a hidden weapon since he had entered the garden, but it seemed he had overestimated him. Brahm was more pathetic than when he had first left the heavenly world. It seems he's completely lost his spiritual body and is using an artificial body. What is it called again? Homunculus. Ha, how pathetic. Odin thought Brahm was only dirtying the honor of the gods and laughed coldly. He had planned on treating Brahm generously for old time's sake, but there was no need for that anymore. To him, Brahm was now a mere insect that wasn't even worth dealing with. I should just get rid of him. A thought suddenly occurred to Odin. But you were never afflicted with heavenly demon disease. How did you enter this place? To enter the garden of the gods, one had to make a pledge. But to do that, one's data had to be infected with the source code. From what Odin knew, Brahm was the only one out of the supreme gods and creator gods to not be afflicted from heavenly demon disease. If Brahm had been sick, he would have been in a deep slumber like the rest of them. The only reason why they were able to escape the aftereffects of the heavenly demon disease was because of the pledge they had made with the Sea of Time in their dream. If it wasn't for that, they would have still been on their backs. But a half-god who didn't suffer from heavenly demon disease or have a spiritual body was here. Something was strange. The other gods nodded as they were curious as well. Brahm smirked as he met their gazes. It was a cynical laugh. You're all mistaken. Open hollow corner bracket I also suffered from it. Open hollow corner bracket what? Odin's eyes widened at the news he was hearing for the first time. The other supreme gods had the same response. I suppose it's only natural you don't know. I've never spoken about it anywhere. But if you get the chance, you should go ask Deva. They'll nod their heads in agreement. Odin thought something was strange. That half-god was afflicted with heavenly demon disease. When? Why didn't they know? There was only one reason Odin could think of. Brahm had been cured of heavenly demon disease before the other societies had learned of it, or he suffered from heavenly demon disease before we were trapped in the tower. Odin's thoughts could no longer continue past that point. A sudden powerful aura began to spin around Brahm. It was a magic power storm that was so strong that even Odin flinched. Meanwhile, the other supreme gods waiting for the chance to hunt Brahm turned stiff. Ah, so no one knew. Actually, the first supreme god to be trapped in this tower was me. Odin began to create sparks to deflect Brahm's aura. His only thought was that he needed to get rid of Brahm, whose entire body was radiating exuviation and transcendence. Brahm had left the heavenly world, but his divine power had been restored. He was also about to return to his past appearance. And the first opponent of the heavenly demon, who you all begged for mercy from. Whoosh. Do Brahm, no, Brahma, the god who dealt with creation out of the three supreme gods of Deva and was in charge of the Saha world, was looking at them. He spoke in his god's voice. Open hollow corner bracket was me. Chapter 641 Creator God 3. He transcended. Open hollow corner bracket Brahma has returned. Open hollow corner bracket that makes things a bit complicated. Was it possible for beings who left the heavenly world to regain their divinity? Although there were rumors that it had happened in the past, it had never happened since the tower was created. But Brahm had done it, so everyone was shocked. However, it could actually be said that Brahm's awakening of his abilities had only finally taken place. The soul of his master, Yin Wu, had reached full maturity, and the other subordinates already gained divine positions. Bu Faust was almost like an outer god now, while Brahm hadn't attempted to upgrade himself. Part of it was because Brahm almost never left the one-horned tribe's village, taking care of Sesha and also viewing his restoration of divinity in a negative light. Having once sat in the position of Deva's supreme god, he knew the jealousy and plotting that came with being a god. He knew just how bothersome it was. Needless to say, Brahm was sick of the heavenly world. No, it wasn't just the heavenly world, but of all earthly things themselves. However, after chasing Harmonia for the last 2 years and facing history again, Brahm realized that things couldn't return as they were. What he wanted was freedom, but there were limits to his freedom now that he had people to be responsible for. Still, that didn't mean he despised those limits as before. It was true they were still uncomfortable, but he was now having fun thinking about how to take care of his duties. I might have rebelled at the wrong time. In the legends, Brahma was characterized as Bum, the very basis of the universe. Bum was the seed that birthed the creation of the universe, taking on various forms over time. Brahma also appeared with different personalities and faces throughout time. And right now, Brahma's name was Brahm. He was not a supreme god concerned about the creation and order of the universe, but the head of a family who only wanted for his family to be healthy and safe. Open hollow corner bracket You're just a fool who was defeated by Agaras, of all beings. Odin's face flushed at the fact that he had felt intimidated by Brahm's aura, and he began to raise electricity. Crash! Spark! Odin's lightning gathered and fell toward Brahm's head. The attack held a power that could crush most planets, but Brahm easily swept it aside with a single hand. Crash! The surroundings were swept away by the residual lightning. Everyone was shocked to see Brahm completely unharmed. Open hollow corner bracket I don't know if you are already aware. Close hollow corner bracket Brahm grinned. Open hollow corner bracket But your Asgard is ruined. Well, you probably would have left to take revenge if you were up to it. I suppose you're still here because you lack the courage. Of course, it seems like I'll be the one to end things. Open hollow corner bracket You dare. Odin expressed his rage as Brahm poked fun at his weakness. Not paying Odin any mind, Brahm pulled out a book and spread it open in the air. As the pages quickly turned, the various spells he'd recorded appeared. It was the new grimoire he had created with the information inspired by the Emerald Tablet, the knowledge he learned from speaking with the head elder, and the understanding he gained through conversing with Bu Faust. Open angle bracket Book of Pluto Close angle bracket. Not only had Brahm regained his power from when he was Brahma, but he also learned the mysterious knowledge of the otherworld gods to pave his own path. Death is fertilizer for a new life. It's a cycle that repeats again and again. Brahm and the Book of Pluto shined so brilliantly that they emitted a blinding light. Return. The moment his command word was activated, a storm of intense holy power spun and swept their surroundings away. Boom. Quote exclamation mark quote. It was around then that Yin Wu stiffened in surprise. He had a tight expression on his face. Open hollow corner bracket What's wrong, Hung? Yin Wu's companions were preparing to leave for where Brahm was, with Laplace leading the way. They all turned to look at him, wondering if the Sea of Time was suddenly attacking. If so, they'd have to fight a close battle again. However, Yin Wu's reply was completely unexpected. Brahm attempted to transcend. Open hollow corner bracket Father-in-law. Father. Cha Jung-woo's vestige and Ananta spoke urgently at the same time. They knew how much Brahm despised divinity, so it was hard to believe that Brahm had restored it. To them, it meant he was in a situation where he had no other choice. Open hollow corner bracket Do you know why? I won't know if Brahm doesn't reveal it. Yin Wu couldn't even read Brahm until now, So it would be harder to find out now that Brahm had restored his divinity. He wordlessly looked at Laplace, his eyes silently commanding Laplace to hurry up and guide them to where Brahm was located. Laplace's bunny ears eagerly folded and unfolded. It's not hard to give you the coordinates for the instant stage, since we created it with illusory change. But there's one problem. What is it? Open corner bracket, you cannot enter if you're not qualified. Qualified. Open corner bracket, you must have been afflicted by heavenly demon disease. Why? Open corner bracket, that's how it was made. It was approved by the system, so you must meet that condition. Is there a way for me to ignore that rule? What if I just break it? Laplace's smile widened. You can try. I don't. The power, purgatory furnace, has been activated. Yin Wu stuck Laplace inside of the furnace, thinking he was hiding something. He then summoned Bu. Open these coordinates. Open corner bracket, my wish is your command. Bu expelled his magic power. Small waves exuded from the tip of his finger, casting magic circles before disappearing. The orb in his left hand continually emitted a dark light. It was clear that things weren't going well. Is it not working? Open corner bracket, I apologize. Please forgive me. Bu got on one knee and bowed. His voice was filled with guilt and frustration. What seems to be the problem? Open corner bracket, the security is too tight. The algorithm is complicated and will take a while to interpret. I apologize. We can't break it. Bu remained silent. That was answer enough. Do I have to force my way in with the yin sword? Yin Wu quickly expelled that thought. Even if he had the yin sword, as of now, he could only cause errors in the system. It was impossible for him to fully stop it from functioning. While Yin Wu was deep in thought, Hyang suddenly stepped forward with the head elder's assistance. I may be able to help you with that. He was pale, as if exhausted from being on the run for so long. No, there's something. Yin Wu felt a familiar energy from Hyang. Maybe, but his contemplation stopped there because Hyang handed him something. Take this. Hyang handed Yin Wu a white bead. What is this? The sixth system key. It's what they so badly want from me. Why are you giving me this? Yin Wu's eyes widened. He knew that Hyang came close to death several times in order not to have this bead taken by Yuvilk and the others. It was true that he had helped Hyang, but he couldn't figure out why Hyang would hand it over to him so easily. Bitterness flashed across Hyang's face. You must have already realized what I'm suffering from, haven't you? Quote, I don't have much longer to live. If you didn't help me, I would have died sooner. And right now, I'm barely holding on. Hyang's gaze was fixed on the system key. But I'm at my end now. It's too difficult to last any longer. I wish to rest now that I've endured for this long. Hyang flashed in and out of existence as if he would disappear at any second. It's a relief that there's someone I can entrust the item to. Even though Hyang didn't know Yin Wu too well, he was certain that Yin Wu would take good care of the system key. After all, Yin Wu was someone Cha Jung Wu and Ananta trusted. That was enough. Eventually, Yin Wu accepted the key with a nod. Hyang was considered to be sly and wicked because he was the mastermind behind many events, but Yin Wu thought that might have been a persona Hyang took on to run the bureau more efficiently. Yin Wu's attitude toward him changed. Thank you. I will accept it with graciousness. Thank you. Hyang grinned. With that, you'll be able to move freely between all the floors except for the 100th floor. You can also travel to the hidden stages or instant stages. But of course, you'll be considered a guardian of the system and you won't be able to do the trials. Yin Wu thought of the 98th floor where Olympus was and the floors beyond the 78th, where no one had ever stepped in due to Alpharon. But it won't be too late to think about this after rescuing Brahm and stealing the other system keys. Now that he had this system key, he'd have to continue to fight against the Central Bureau. Then I'll leave it too. Hyang's smiling head slid down to the ground as his body scattered into dust as a result of Gaia's curse. Fwoosh! Yin Wu silently paid tribute to Hyang. Then, he turned in the opposite direction and pulled Laplace out of the furnace. You must know how the system key works since you were also a High Guardian, right? Laplace looked exhausted after going through all of that pain. Ha! So you obtained it. Of course I do. You want me to tell you how to use it, I'm sure. Yes. And you know what will happen if you attempt anything. Open corner bracket, don't worry about that. As I said, I'm on team ###. Yin Wu wished Laplace would stop speaking in that playful tone because Laplace was losing credibility the more he spoke. Open corner bracket, could I request something from you after I help you this time? Quote. Open corner bracket, could you trap me in that furnace again? What? It was an unimaginable request, so Yianwu felt his mind go blank. Laplace covered his face with his copper-toned, muscled hands and fidgeted. He was like a person acting shy in front of a silly crush. The hot and sweaty heat. It's my style, haha, I love this. Yianwu tightened his grip on Vigrid. It seemed he needed to get rid of that pervert first before leaving for Brahm. Open hollow corner bracket. Hey, you're not thinking of stabbing that pervert with your father, are you? Hey, stop, I said to stop. Ah, the faultless Kronos suffered between them before. Many beings of the heavenly world show interest. Chapter 642 Creator God 4. Open hollow corner bracket. Son, my ass. You're going to be punished. You'll be punished, I tell you. Kronos had returned to his human form with a depressed face, and Cha Jungwoo's vestige came over to pat his shoulder. Cha Jungwoo said, open hollow corner bracket. Father, he's always been like that. You should be the bigger person. Open hollow corner bracket. Why does his dirty temper seem to be getting worse? Open hollow corner bracket. It's because he becomes more crooked every day. Just look at him, he looks like a sour old fogey. Yianwu looked flabbergasted, listening to his father and brother insult him right to his face. However, he just ignored them and turned around since he'd only be more offended if he argued. Open corner bracket. Working with you is great. But Yianwu found something even more horrid upon turning, seeing Laplace, who looked revolting with his cheeks flushed and exhausted panting. Yianwu felt like his eyes would rot at this rate, so he just simply stuffed Laplace back into the furnace. It was a relief that Laplace had already told him how to use the system keys. System key, snake, category, unknown, rank, unknown. Conditions for use, 6th High Guardian. Description, this is the 6th part of the system key that has been divided into 12. The holder will have the authority to approach the 6th section of the system settings. The holder can also do important tasks like backing up data and restoring information. This artifact is intended for guardians, not players. If someone other than a guardian possesses this artifact, they must report it to the Bureau immediately. If this rule is not adhered to, the player may be eliminated from their player status. The original owner, Snake, cannot be found in the vicinity. All functions are paused. Please report to the Bureau as soon as this key is found. The system key was now a dull color, contrary to its radiating appearance when it had been in Hyang's hand. It looked so ordinary that it being a system key was almost unbelievable. Many beings of the heavenly world show interest. However, the message that kept on popping up in Yianwu's vision demonstrated how much everyone in the tower wanted the key. They've become quite patient. Yianwu smirked at the sky. From what he had experienced until now, beings of the heavenly world, especially the gods, were creatures who always attempted to take something they wanted upon making the decision. The godly society less than Olympus greater than is carefully watching the movements of the other societies within the heavenly world. The supreme god's representative, Athena, warns they will take action once any unnecessary movement is caught. All gods of death observe the godly societies. All demons of death observe the demonic societies. Athena held an iron clutch over the heavenly world. In addition, the gods and demons of death were now loyal to Yianwu, so she kept a close eye to make sure no one could step up easily. For her and the other supreme gods, stepping up also probably meant they'd have to deal with Yianwu and his subordinates. However, Yianwu could tell that their patience wouldn't last long. The power of the system key was too great. He thought, being able to move freely between the stages and having some authority of the guardians, it'd be difficult to name a better item than this. Of course, there was the issue that only a high guardian with the position of Snake could use it, but loopholes could always be found. The system key shook as Yianwu input his magic power inside of the system key, which didn't shine or absorb the magic power. It was as if it was refusing Yianwu's magic power. Warning, you do not meet the conditions to use this artifact. Warning, you do not meet the conditions to use this artifact. An unidentifiable power attempts to hack the artifact. The artifact has defended itself. The artifact has defended itself. The artifact has failed to defend itself. A part of the pre-existing data was damaged due to the hacking. The section, Conditions for Use, has been changed. A new sentence has been inserted to the section, Conditions for Use. New condition, Abuser. A new trait has been added. Warning, you have damaged the artifact with your forbidden actions. Warning, the current action is strictly against the rules of the Bureau. Submit the artifact to the Bureau. Warning, the current action, The system continued to send warnings to stop Yi and Wu, who didn't care. The Central Bureau had probably realized what he did, but they weren't able to take action. Since they'd lost 3 High Guardians at once, they would only suffer more damage if they tried to stop him. Moreover, the attention of the heavenly world was focused on him. Many beings of the heavenly world show interest. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than watches you closely. The godly society less than Dilmun greater than watches you closely. The gods of death observe them even more closely. It wouldn't be easy for the Central Bureau to jump in amid this situation. Thus, Yi and Wu focused more magic power into the system key. Ding! Unlike before, the system key let out a clear sound and began to activate. Suddenly, a screen that was as large as Yi and Wu appeared in front of him, and numbers began to blink on it. The godly society less than Tuatha De Danann greater than watches you closely. Then, the screen turned black. Open hollow corner bracket O Odin. Open hollow corner bracket Odin has been defeated. How? Open hollow corner bracket the holy power is moving. It revealed a battlefield that was turning into a desolate land. The godly society less than Avesta greater than watches you closely. The godly society less than Memphis greater than watches you closely. On the battlefield, Brahm emitted a fierce aura with a strange dotted black book. Odin tried to fight back but disappeared in an instant, and the black shadows that spread across the green fields like paint shocked the many supreme gods. The black lightning reminiscent of sword thunder that streaked across the sky clearly showed who was dominating the battlefield. The godly society less than Diva greater than watches you closely. The godly society less than Diva greater than is shocked at the return of their supreme god. The Lokapala that are ruling over less than Diva greater than have a heavy discussion. A few gods of Diva doubt the strength of Brahma. Diva was glad that their former supreme god had regained his divinity, but they were also confused. They could tell that Brahm's power was closer to death and destruction than creation. Brahm's previous divine powers had gone through changes after becoming Yi and Wu's subordinate and creating new legends. However, divine powers could alter vastly depending on how the god interpreted it. It wasn't strange that the new life that comes after death, that Brahm had seen next to Yi and Wu had influenced these changes. Diva seemed to be confused because the powers were too different from their mission, but it had already been a long time since Brahm left them. All godly societies watch you closely. All gods observe the battlefield occurring in the hidden stage, Garden of the Gods. Many gods are shocked at the unexpected sight. A few gods look away because it is too gruesome. A few gods watch on with fearful eyes. The godly society less than Malik greater than remains silent. The godly societies all held their breath. Although the gods had been absent for a long time because of heavenly demon disease, they were once kings whom many gods served. It was impossible to be unaffected watching such kings bleed and die. At the same time, the gods resented that the Sea of Time had created this stage and reduced the gods to entertainers of a comedy. Do. The sky trembled with the collective gazes of the gods. All demons watch with interest. The demonic society less than L'Infernal greater than is glad. Vimalasitra enjoys the war in the Garden of the Gods. Cernunnos watches the war with unreadable eyes. On the other hand, the demons seem to be happy that their opponents were losing manpower. But why are they not trying to interfere when their kings are dying? Yi and Wu was surprised that the gods weren't attempting to steal the system key. Just then, an explosion boomed beyond the screen, and the system key shook. Crash! The gods watching the Garden of the Gods are shocked. The demons enjoying the Garden of the Gods cheer. Yi and Wu turned his head to see, and Kronos spoke in a quavering voice for the first time. Could that child be? Brahm's storm had been sweeping the other supreme gods away when lightning suddenly divided it. The blinding gold light tore Brahm's holy power and shot towards him. Open hollow corner bracket Zeus. Kronos shouted upon realizing who the golden lightning belonged to. The gods of less than Olympus greater than are greatly surprised by the appearance of their past king. Less than Olympus greater than is taken aback. Your chief apostle, Athena, is silent. The apostle, Ares, is silent. The apostle, Hercules, is silent. Poseidon looks at his younger brother with wavering eyes. Although Yi and Wu held authority over Olympus, Zeus' influence couldn't be disregarded as most of the leading gods were Zeus' family. It was only natural the gods were surprised and confused. Yi and Wu's subordinate Brahm and the former king Zeus, if only one could survive, who did they need to support? Even Kronos was being shaken. This isn't good. Wu had expected to go through a lot of effort to get rid of Zeus' shadow once Zeus was found, but it seemed the process would be a lot more difficult than he thought. I need to interfere somehow. Wu clenched his teeth and boosted the system key. A gate has been created. You are attempting entrance into the instant stage, Garden of the Gods. Just when Wu was about to step inside the gate, lightning suddenly fell from the sky and blocked his path. Crash! He stiffened because he knew exactly what this was. The gods watching the Garden of the Gods request that you do not interfere. Heavenly punishment is activated. Olympus and the other allied forces are on high alert. Wu's expression turned grim. Heavenly punishment could only be activated when 2/3 of either the godly societies or the demonic societies agreed. And because it was extremely difficult for the various societies to come to an agreement, it was almost never used. But the gods had come together as one to stop him from interfering. Olympus and the other allied forces stood warily against the other gods, but the other societies perceived it negatively. The gods watching the Garden of the Gods warn the allied forces that the heavenly punishment will continue if they continue to disrupt. The godly societies are at odds. All demons observe the godly societies with joy. A message has arrived from Erlang Shen of the allied forces less than Chan sect greater than. Message. Death King. We know very well what Brahma means to you and how intense your disapproval of the plot of the Sea of Time and the Central Bureau is. While the allied forces and the other godly societies faced off, the Chan sect secretly sent Wu a message. Death King was a name used to designate Wu since his name was still filtered by the system. Additionally, it was a sign of respect, since it meant Wu was the king of all death. A message has arrived from Erlang Shen. Message. However, I request this personally and officially as part of the allied forces. Please don't interfere in the holy ceremony and watch until the end. A message has arrived from Erlang Shen. Message. You may not understand why we call such an uncivilized act a holy ceremony, but I know the Sea of Time created this stage to mock us. This is very important to us. Appointing a one and only God is something we gods have only dreamed about. A message has arrived from Erlang Shen. Message. And I am certain this is no different in your Olympus as well. What? Wu's eyes slightly widened. A message has arrived from Erlang Shen. Message. I will await your wise decision. Erlang Shen had said he requested it of Wu, but in truth, he had subtly warned that if Wu jumped into the battle royale, the Chan sect could possibly leave the allied forces. Wu clenched his fists. Only then was he able to remember how much the gods had wanted a king of kings, even during all their strife. Kronos had become closest to that position after becoming the king of gods, but after he was brought down by Zeus, no one was able to get that close again. However, if one god was able to come out of the supreme god's battle and take the master king, it wouldn't be strange for him to call himself the one and only god, a king of kings. It was clear to see how much the Sea of Time had seen through the gods' desires, but that didn't mean Wu could just stay still. The creation of such an existence wouldn't help him in the slightest, and he didn't like that they'd be playing things out as the Sea of Time wanted. No, even with that aside, if there was a victor, either Brahm or Zeus, or both of them, could die. That couldn't happen. Wu gripped Vigrid tighter. The gods watching the Garden of the Gods become wary of you. Just when it seemed as if heavenly punishment would drop from the sky again, a white pillar descended crash. An envoy of less than Malik greater than Michael descends. Michael spread his pure white wings apart as he smirked, just like when they first met. The left arm Wu had pulled out in the past was now regrown. Open hollow corner bracket. I'm delivering the celestial scribe's words. Irrevocable problems can arise in godly societies if the standoff becomes worse. Malik hopes to arbitrate the situation and wishes for the representatives of each society and the Death King to negotiate. Michael's voice rang throughout the stage. This is an invitation to Eden in the heavenly world. Chapter 643 Creator God 5. An invitation. Wu had a look of indignation because he knew all this talk about negotiations was just an attempt to stop him. On the other hand, the gods and demons watching them seemed to be quite shocked. Many gods are taken aback by the announcement from less than Malik greater than. A few gods look at you with envy for being invited by less than Malik greater than. Many demons are surprised. Eden. It wasn't an exaggeration to say the legends of absolute good were most prevalent in the world, and Eden was a great holy territory that held an important part in those legends. It was known as the first land, and was also famous for being the residence of many angels. Considering how Malik had a special status out of all the godly societies, being invited to such a place was a great honor. Only the greatest members of a society were invited, and they had to have some important reason to enter Eden. By inviting Yianwu to Eden, Malik essentially acknowledged him as not just a star prospect of the heavenly world but as a being on the same level as him. In a way, such treatment was unsurprising since Yianwu was now Olympus' supreme god. But he still had the soul of a mortal, so this came as a surprise. This was the first time a mortal was invited to Eden, except for the being in the past who had been exiled after committing a grave sin. Open hollow corner bracket. The celestial scribe wishes to meet with you and have a lengthy conversation. Although Michael was speaking politely, his gaze hinted at his extreme amusement of the situation. If Yianwu refused the invitation, Michael could use that as a reason to start a colossal fight, and if he accepted, that was also amusing in its own way. Yianwu was about to tell Michael to stop speaking nonsense and go away when Brahm's voice was suddenly transmitted through their connection. Accept it. Yianwu spun to look toward the entrance of the gate. Do. Brahm was still in the midst of an intense battle with Zeus. Every time he flipped the pages of his book, various skills were activated, and Zeus created his lightning bolts to deflect the attacks. Are you alright? Open hollow corner bracket. I'm more than alright. Don't treat me like I'm old. I'm still good. Ha ha ha. Brahm's laughter rang out and reached where Yianwu was. He looked at ease, being able to chuckle as he fought Zeus. Open hollow corner bracket. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. Brahm continued to speak in a solemn tone. It's clear they have something in mind, but I think it would be best for you to visit now. Yianwu tried to look at the situation logically. Isn't it obvious they're trying to stop me from interfering in the battle royale by inviting me? Open hollow corner bracket. So you should accept their invitation for now. Then, you'll be able to request something from them. A give and take needs to occur for a trade to take place. Request something? What? Open hollow corner bracket. Don't forget our mission. Your resentment of the Sea of Time must be great, but we have something to take care of before that. Ah, Yianwu finally felt something flash across his mind. He could then hear Brahm laughing. Open hollow corner bracket. You get it now? Yes. Open hollow corner bracket. Payback is important, but you can do that anytime. Inheriting accomplishments is more important. These were his last wishes, weren't they? But what about you? Open hollow corner bracket. You don't trust me? Yianwu sighed heavily at Brahm's question. Of course I do. Open hollow corner bracket. Then trust me. I've leached off of you all this time, so I should do something now, Brahm laughed again. And now that I'm here, I want to do that one and only God thing before I leave. I have no attachments to fighting, but I want to explore new power. Yianwu had no choice but to be convinced by Brahm's sincere words. He said, understood, sir. Then I'll return soon, so please be careful. Open hollow corner bracket. You take care of yourself. You're going to be surrounded by beings who have been waiting for you to come. Yianwu laughed along with Brahm this time. All the better for me. I have no reason to refuse when they're stepping up to becoming fertilizer for Olympus themselves. Open hollow corner bracket. What a temper. Haha. Well, I do like this side of you, which is different from Jungwoo. Brahm stopped talking, flipping the book to its final page. The shadows soared high like a tsunami and it whipped around Zeus. Yianwu decided not to interfere with Brahm's business anymore. If he stepped up here, he'd be hurting Brahm's pride instead of helping him. Maybe the reason why Brahm didn't contact anyone wasn't that he was in danger, but because he wanted to get to Harmonia with his own strength. It seemed Brahm wanted to see the end with Harmonia purely with his own abilities. That was probably the reason why he participated in the battle royale, since it meant he'd be able to reach Harmonia sooner. Yianwu turned back to look at the head elder. The Sea of Time might try something again. I'll leave this place to you, sir. All right, be careful, thank you. Yianwu bowed and strapped Vigrid on his back as he turned to Michael. Lead the way. When Michael looked up at the sky, a massive column of light descended. It was the path to heaven that only prophets who were chosen in Malik's legends could climb. The light embraced Yianwu. The godly society less than Malik greater than has invited you to their great holy territory, Eden. The territory is on the 98th floor. You do not meet the qualifications to enter. The system key, snake, is activating. The qualifications are met, and you are being transported to Eden. When Yianwu opened his eyes to the bombardment of messages, he was standing atop a beautiful rainbow-colored cloud. This is the 98th floor, the gate of the heavenly world. Your current status is High Guardian. You cannot perform the trials of this floor. The cloud flew in the sky above vast fields. The land was so wide that it seemed to be as great as most continents, exuding immense holy power. Yin Wu had experienced multiple holy territories, but no place had ever had energy this pure. He felt like he was being purified just by looking at it. That's Eden. It was also known as Mount Eden. The 4 rivers of Pishan, Gion, Hiddekel, and Euphrates flowed throughout the land, and luxurious trees had grown with the water's nourishment. Yin Wu heard the tree of life, and the tree that bore the fruit of good was also there. Just then, Michael pulled out a cane and struck the ground. A staircase headed to Eden was created. Please climb. Just then, a group of tens of beings descended down to Yin Wu. We will escort you. They were the divine beings of Olympus led by Athena. It seemed they have come to protect Yin Wu since he was their supreme god. Most of them were unfamiliar faces that Yin Wu had never seen before. On the contrary. Open hollow corner bracket lots of familiar faces. When Kronos changed into his human form, everyone bowed towards the ground with shocked faces. Lord Kronos. Open hollow corner bracket why your majesty. Everyone knew Kronos was moving with Yin Wu, but they felt their hearts thumping faster now that they were actually face to face with him. Open hollow corner bracket it's nice to see everyone. Have you all been well? Open hollow corner bracket we. Open hollow corner bracket I know. It's difficult for you to answer that. All of you must have had a hard time because of me. Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. Open hollow corner bracket but it's still nice to see everyone like this. Yin Wu laughed inwardly as he watched. He found it slightly strange to see his father being so grave when he'd only seen his father be imperfect all this time. But he knew that his father showed up to try showing him his legitimate right to the throne. Most of the beings in that crowd probably still doubted Yin Wu, who was a supreme god who couldn't ascend to the heavenly world. Some might ask how a king who couldn't even sit on his throne could be a king. However, the only reason why no one had been able to argue was that Athena and the others were too intimidating, and it was purely Yin Wu's strength that had seized Olympus back from the Titans and Gigantes. But now, the missing Zeus had appeared again. Thus, it was understandable that the divine beings would try to weigh which side was more beneficial for themselves. Although Yin Wu had sat on the throne of the king of gods, there was no reason for Zeus to be disqualified from the position. Poseidon and the others had lost Olympus, but Zeus had only been afflicted with the heavenly demon disease. Additionally, now that Zeus was demonstrating his prowess in the battle royale, Yin Wu could see some divine beings would support him. This would be the root of disorder within Olympus. Since the divine beings needed to decide who to side with, they had probably all come over to see Yin Wu for themselves. And now, Kronos had appeared and was supporting Yin Wu, so the balance was tilted toward Yin Wu again. Even though Kronos was kicked out as he vanquished, there were still many people waiting for him. If he wished to gather people, there would probably be a large number of beings who would follow him. Kronos' reputation was still intact, after all. Athena watched the battle of wits with a worried expression. She thought everything had ended after defeating the Titans and Gigantes, but she now faced another struggle. The two beings on opposing sides happened to be her father and favorite uncle. Open hollow corner bracket it's alright. As if comforting Athena, Yin Wu's message quietly arrived. Flinch. Athena jumped. Open hollow corner bracket do as you wish. I won't resent you for whatever decision you make. What you've already done for me has been a huge help for Jungwoo and myself. Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. Yin Wu's words made Athena even more at odds with her feelings. Open hollow corner bracket I've received news from above. They say there are limits to how many people can come with you, so you can't enter with all these members. The gods of Olympus stiffened. He is our king. We can't let security be so lax where our king goes. Open hollow corner bracket Olympus thinks of Malik as a dangerous entity. Can I think that? Michael lifted a corner of his mouth. Red flames wrapped around him and disappeared, emitting a clear fighting spirit. The divine being who had shouted took a step back. That's enough. I'll leave for Eden with Athena. Open hollow corner bracket that's fine. Michael smiled lightly and stepped back. Meanwhile, the god of Olympus had extremely red faces, but nothing good would come out of arguing with Michael here. After the gods left one by one, Yin Wu and Athena began to follow Michael up the stairs. While he climbed, Yin Wu was able to see countless islands below him. Along the ocean filled with clouds, there were continents many times greater than Eden. Each island looked different. One island looked uninhabited, covered in grass, and another island had a single temple in the middle of a desert. There were also islands full of buildings, and some islands with castles and plants like Machu Picchu. The various environments and styles didn't suggest any unity. It was unrealistic, like seeing a broad world in a game. The bodies floating above the sea of clouds are godly societies. I heard the demonic societies aren't islands, but something else. I don't know the specifics. Athena saw where Yi and Wu's gaze was headed and spoke with a smile. She realized that this was his first time in the heavenly world. They're all big. They are, but they're small to us. Very small. Yi and Wu nodded. Since they were once creatures who moved freely throughout the vast universes, the islands must have felt small to them. And since they needed to maintain their human form to ensure maximized space, it was no doubt uncomfortable. Based on how Eden is the only society on a higher level, was the hierarchy of societies intentional? The holy power exuded by the island is calm and naturally makes you bow. Yi and Wu felt like he understood Malik's philosophies. Open hollow corner bracket. We've arrived. Yi and Wu and Athena stopped. At the end of the stairs, there was a middle-aged man with wings who reached the ground. He was Metatron, with intellectual eyes. Welcome. Next to Metatron, there was another being. The man had dark black eyes. The black wings on his back showed that he was a demon and not an angel. He was a being who didn't belong in Mount Eden. Hello, we finally meet like this. He was the leader of the absolute evil infernal, Baal. Chapter 644 Creator God 6. An expanding black shadow and golden lightning divided the battlefield. Just when the battle to be the one and only God became a two-sided fight between Brahm and Zeus, blinding white light appeared on the battlefield. It was a third party that neither of them had expected. Crash! Sensing the light was sweeping away their holy power, Brahm and Zeus quickly retreated. If the light was in their path, their loss would be imminent. SS's. Open hollow corner bracket. You two are having all the fun yourselves. Allow me to join. The two spun around to see a white-robed man wrapped in bright light. With his long hair braided above his head, he was the Jade Emperor. Looking at him, Brahm couldn't help but mutter under his breath, "This won't be easy." In the distant past, during Genesis, the Jade Emperor had been the strongest in Mount Sumeru. He had defeated countless kings and had even become an emperor, although he was eventually brought down by the heavenly demon who escaped the laws of reincarnation. The Jade Emperor had remained at the Three Gods Mountain to recover, but he was still weak when compared to his prime. However, even in this weak state, the Jade Emperor emanated an aura that overwhelmed the other supreme gods, who felt goosebumps crawling across their skin. Zeus knew how dangerous the smiling Jade Emperor was, so he didn't answer. He merely shot a lightning bolt toward the supreme god. Crash! And like that, the battle for the position of one and only god turned into a three-sided fight. Open hollow corner bracket. The cake is too sweet, and the tea is too bitter. Celestial scribe, did you change cafes? Or did your taste change? What a disappointment. Open hollow corner bracket. Unfortunately, the cafe you're speaking about closed recently. Open hollow corner bracket. What? They're one of the best cafes in the heavenly world. Why? Open hollow corner bracket. They say this was a bad year for strawberries. Open hollow corner bracket. Oh dear. That cafe's highlight was with their strawberry menus. Anyone who overheard their conversation regarding cake, strawberry, and other nonsense would think that they were at a tasting event. Yi and Wu was flabbergasted as he watched Metatron and Baal speak solemnly about the food on the table in front of them. The same went for Athena, standing behind him. Who'd believe the two representatives of the absolute good and absolute evil societies would have such a conversation? Open hollow corner bracket. Oh dear. It seems our small talk has become too lengthy for our guest. ## doesn't appear to understand us. Open hollow corner bracket. Cake and tea are the only things that keep me going in this frustrating heavenly world. I won't compromise on this. Baal crossed his arms with a sniff. He looked quite annoyed. Metatron smiled faintly. Did you know Baal and I meet like this frequently? Somewhat. Yi and Wu nodded. Conflicts between gods and demons were always going on, and Malik and L'Infernal were always struggling to ensure the fight wouldn't become a full-scale war. Thus, it was easy to see why Metatron and Baal, the leaders of the societies, would have to meet often. So, even though Baal was in Malik, Yi and Wu was only a little surprised. He didn't think it was strange. Open hollow corner bracket. But when we meet so often, there are only so many things we can talk about. Still, since we need others to think we're doing our best and we have to keep ourselves entertained, both of us developed an interest for desserts. In other words, the two took an interest in desserts to maintain their reputation and kill time. Yi and Wu scoffed. Metatron had a pretty appearance, looking rather androgynous. However, it was hard to imagine Ball, a macho man, fiddling with the strawberry cake on his plate. Ball was also quite different from the impression he had given off when he was vexed because of Agaras. However, this tea party wasn't something to look down on. As these two societies arbitrated issues, they clearly had a lot of influence among the gods and demons. The fact that the two societies' leaders met often also meant they shared opinions easily. They can decide what goes on in the entire heavenly world, and not just within the godly or demonic societies. This was where the true politics happened, an unthinkable place where the pullers of strings met. The leaders of each society might have caught on, but they can't do anything about it since they have no evidence. Who would be able to stop Malik and L'Infernal if they worked together? Considering the fact that all societies were dependent on the two, whether they knew it or not, it wouldn't be easy to stand against them. Ball and Metatron likely wanted Yi and Wu to see this. It's good. Yi and Wu took a small bite of the strawberry cake, which was technically evidence of this political meeting, and grinned. He thought Adora would like it if she tried some. I should ask for some to take back. Yi and Wu quietly set the fork back down. What is the reason you've invited me to this tea party that most gods don't even know about? Open hollow corner bracket. I see you're quite sly. You already know the reason. Ball still looked strange, busily searching for the hidden strawberries in the cake as a large figure, and Metatron set down his teacup with a smile. You want to invite me as a member to this party? Open hollow corner bracket. If a new member is added to this boring meeting with only 2 members, wouldn't the meetings be more exuberant? Yi and Wu could step foot into the behind-the-scenes politics. It definitely wasn't a bad offer, and it also meant he had become strong enough for these two leaders to keep careful watch on him. So the negotiations you spoke about were a lie to summon me here, as expected. Open hollow corner bracket. There's no better justification. Yi and Wu raised a corner of his mouth. With this, he became certain. As I thought, Malik and L'Infernal have no interest in the battle for the status of one and only god. He could clearly see the request he'd ask of them that Brahm had hinted about. Open hollow corner bracket. I don't know if you already are aware, but the members of Malik call ourselves angels, not gods. We believe he will come in due time. So even if such a being is created with this battle, it will be heresy that Malik cannot acknowledge. Ball, who had finally found all the strawberries and eaten them, wiped his mouth with a handkerchief and spoke up. Us as well. There's no reason for us to welcome a strong god. Then you won't interfere even if I enter the battle royale or gather all the system keys. Open hollow corner bracket. Yes. Open hollow corner bracket. Precisely. What do you want? Open hollow corner bracket. Are you asking us even when you know the answer? Open hollow corner bracket. Isn't it obvious? Yi and Wu smiled along with them. Time. You need the revelations. Metatron wet his lips with his red tongue, reminding Yi and Wu of the snake in the legends that had offered the fruit of good and evil to the first humans. Metatron said, open hollow corner bracket. No matter how much we collect, we always need more. Open hollow corner bracket. Lemegadon, which the Sea of Time possesses, or in other words, the revelations, are thought to be a version that hasn't been discovered in the tower yet. If you happen to obtain it, we want you to share it with us. And the price? Clank. Ball put down his fork and smiled cynically. Wasn't the fruit of good and evil to your taste? It wasn't the price for what Yi and Wu had taken before. Ball was saying they could give him more of them. However, he probably wasn't giving a definite answer because he was more a politician than a demon. No matter what your stance is, we won't make any announcements. Then, the other societies will be hesitant. It meant no matter what Yi and Wu did, such as placing Brahm in the position of the one and only god, or disrupting the battle royale, the two societies wouldn't interfere and would keep the heavenly world silent. They would act as if they didn't care about anything else as long as they could get something out of it. It was the standard logic of those in power, but Yi and Wu preferred this to pretentious conversations. I can involve the entire heavenly world with this show the Sea of Time has created. Then, I'll be able to lead them in the direction I want. Yi and Wu quickly completed the big picture in his head and slowly spoke up. Then, can I make an offer while I'm here? Open hollow corner bracket. Oh ho. What is it? Open hollow corner bracket. What? Metatron and Ball seemed greatly interested, since they had seen that Yi and Wu was skilled in schemes and plots from observing him all this time. Yi and Wu briefly explained his plans before the two burst out laughing with satisfaction. Open hollow corner bracket. Ha. Has my scumbag son been divided into 3? The state of this world. Close hollow corner bracket. Kronos muttered in despair as he saw the 3 laugh wickedly, but of course, Yi and Wu ignored him. Open hollow corner bracket. As you've seen so far, gods are unreasonable. They're arrogant creatures that go straight for what they want without thinking of anything other than their target. In reality, they're fearful beings who shudder to see you grow stronger or exuviate. They probably haven't learned anything from Asgard's destruction or the martial king's transcendence. Metatron continued with a frown. Leading such ignorant beings on the right path, I feel like my soul is becoming exhausted every day. When he turned back to Yi and Wu, Metatron was smiling brightly. But unlike those fools, I think it's a relief that you're reasonable and have deep thoughts so we can understand each other. Open hollow corner bracket. It seems all the offers are finished, so I'll get up first. I feel like another crazy bastard will act up if I'm absent for too long. Ball left first. Do. Open hollow corner bracket. They're all annoying. Zeus had thought that he'd easily gain the title of one and only god to stand at the top, so he was now angry that there were multiple obstacles in his way. At this rate, he wouldn't get anywhere. Even if he won in the end, it wouldn't be without its losses, and he could be betrayed later on. He needed to display overwhelming strength that suited the name of Killer of the King of Gods. Open hollow corner bracket. I have no other choice. Zeus decided to pull out the secret weapon he'd wanted to hide until the end. Brahm and the Jade Emperor attack suddenly moved around Zeus and landed on the ground. The two looked at him warily, backs straightened. They noticed that Zeus' aura was different from a moment ago. He's done something. Brahm quickly layered the shadows and guarded himself, thinking Zeus had pulled out some tricks. On the other hand, the Jade Emperor, angry that Zeus had made him wary if only for a moment, instantly dashed in Zeus' direction. How dare you? Just then, Brahm could see that Zeus' eyes were faintly glinting with joy. No, to be exact, his left eye was shining like a jewel. Could that be a virtue stone? Brahm belatedly realized that Zeus held a piece of Lucille's soul stone. In the meantime, Zeus' jewel eye emitted a strange light and amplified his holy power. Brahm didn't know how Zeus had a virtue stone, but Zeus' lightning infused with the stone's energy before sweeping through the Jade Emperor. For better or for worse, the Jade Emperor had changed directions at the last minute and was barely alive. Half of his body had been sliced off. Zeus attempted to use the same skill on Brahm to end this battle. Hup! Brahm quickly scanned through the Book of Pluto to strengthen the barrier around him, but it seemed weak against Zeus' attack. Just before the golden lightning struck him, a space opened in front of Brahm to reveal Yi and Wu swinging vigorous forwards. A new participant is entering. Crash! The golden lightning was scattered before it could even reach them. Open hollow corner bracket. How dare you get in the way? Realizing the trespasser was Olympus' new king of gods, whom he had heard about from Yvilk, Zeus narrowed his eyes with anger. I know you're watching through the eye. Why don't you come on out? I know my disruption of this battle isn't something you want. Yi and Wu didn't even acknowledge Zeus, looking past him. Zeus shouted angrily, asking what Yi and Wu was trying to do when he suddenly felt a presence behind him. He widened his eyes and turned around, noticing that space had divided in the sky above the ruined fields to reveal emptiness. It was as if someone had poured black paint. Harmonia looked at them from the abyss. What is it you want to say? Brahm's gaze wavered at the appearance of the old lover he once thought dead. Meanwhile, Zeus stiffened upon seeing the being he had seen in his dream when he was afflicted with heavenly demon's disease. Regardless, Yi and Wu and Harmonia spoke calmly as if they were in their own world. Yi and Wu said, no matter who wins here, I have the final system key. You won't get what you want. Open hollow corner bracket. We can just steal it. You think so? Harmonia just smiled in response without saying much. So, I'll give this to you. Yi and Wu pulled out the system key he had received from Hyang. Looking at his system key, greed flashed through Zeus' eyes, and Brahm stepped back with an unreadable look. However, Yi and Wu's attitude remained firm. Open hollow corner bracket. Close hollow corner bracket. Harmonia was momentarily silent as if trying to read Yi and Wu's thoughts. Then, she asked in a grave tone. And the price? A synchronized attack to catch Alpharon. How about it? Chapter 645. A Common Front 1. Harmonia had a bemused expression. She couldn't help but laugh now that the person who had busied himself with trying to catch her was suddenly offering her an alliance. You want to put aside our issues until we catch Alpharon, is that it? She then turned toward Brahm with her eyes, noticing that Brahm was looking at her without any expression. However, having been his partner for a long time, she knew that Brahm's eyes were full of various emotions at this moment. She looked away because she didn't think she should look at him with her real eyes. Yi and Wu continued, you and I share the same goals. Open hollow corner bracket. Do you know what my goals are? Isn't it to bring down Alpharaon? Open hollow corner bracket. Yes, although I have a greater purpose. Alpharaon is only a means to reach it. Same for me. So, after we eliminate Alpharaon, we can call off our alliance. Open hollow corner bracket. I apologize, but the reason why Alpharaon hasn't shown any movement recently is a result of our efforts. We were also the ones to provide beings to replace him. It seems you're only trying to sponge off of us. Don't you want the last key a bit too much to say? I'm simply sponging off of you. Harmonia smiled faintly. She would get nowhere trying to argue with Yi and Wu. How about you just enter our clan? If you wish, we can give you clans to command and even a leadership position. No, I don't think so. Open hollow corner bracket. You've also received the baptism of darkness. In the future, you'll have to kick aside this burdensome tower and focus on waking him, don't you think? You already know my answer. Open hollow corner bracket. I see you're a non-believer who doesn't follow this path even after seeing and experiencing his grace and his miracles. Harmonia nodded her massive head. Yi and Wu's words were quite blasphemous to say in front of the leader of a clan that worshipped the Black King, but Yi and Wu strangely got the impression that Harmonia was satisfied with his reply. Open hollow corner bracket. Then, my reply is simple as well. No. Open hollow corner bracket. What will you do if that's the case? You're not the only one I can make an offer to. Open hollow corner bracket. Yi and Wu turned to the right, saying, Yvilk, what do you think? Oh, you're too cruel, .. How can you so blatantly try to create internal strife between us when both of us are present? Space opened as a monocle-wearing goblin appeared. He seemed beyond amused by the situation. Yi and Wu was making the same offer he made to Harmonia to the Central Bureau. Since the Central Bureau were the ones who needed the system keys, Yi and Wu's plans could succeed if he gave it to them too. Open hollow corner bracket. Haha. Harmonia chuckled lightly at how blatantly Yi and Wu was trying to pick sides. Yvilk adjusted his monocle as he began to speak again. There's something I want to know. May I ask a question? What is it? Of the current divine abilities you possess, is there anything related to incitement, fraud, or temper? Many demons nod in agreement. A few demons await your response. Very few demons look at you with sparkling eyes. The reactions of the demons got on his nerves, but Yi and Wu just crossed his arms with a scoff. There's nothing like that. That's a shame. If you did, you would have become an emperor already. Oh. Anyway, as for your offer. Just when Yvilk was about to reply, Zeus, who had been watching their conversation, raised golden lightning with an enraged expression. You trifling beings dare to leave me out. He was the one participating in the battle royale, but he was being ignored. Golden stems that connected the sky to the ground spread out, crackling as if they were going to explode any moment. His jewel eyes shone brighter than before. Zeus owned the stone of Caritas, which was the direct opposite of Yi and Wu's stone of Superbia. Caritas was the power that shared and gave. In other words, meeting stronger opponents would allow him to use an increasingly amplified amount of holy power. Yi and Wu opened his draconic divine eyes and gripped Vigrid. As the yin sword was activated, darkness spread around him. He could strike Zeus any second. Vigrid trembled. SSS's. Darkness surged above Vigrid before. Kronos, upper torso appeared. He looked at Zeus sadly. Zeus. Open hollow corner bracket. I heard you returned, but I can't believe you really did. All the more reason to tear you apart. Crash. Thunder boomed and lightning fell right above Yi and Wu's head. It was at that moment when Yvilk snapped his fingers, extinguishing the light from Zeus' shining left eye. The golden lightning that was on the verge of exploding scattered like it was never there. Open hollow corner bracket. Keg. Zeus coughed up blood due to his attacks being deflected. He glared at Yvilk. Yvilk just smiled. Oh, you must not forget, Zeus, who the stone of Caritas belongs to. I was still speaking with .. Isn't that so? A chess piece must remember its place. Crunch. Zeus clenched his teeth at Yvilk, who treated him like a mere chess piece. Yvilk simply smiled, acting like he didn't care if Zeus left or not. However, Zeus couldn't bring himself to take out the jewel eye, which entranced him with its sheer power. Instead, he turned around and disappeared, containing his fury. Open hollow corner bracket. Zeus. Kronos looked after Zeus sadly. Then, he turned back to Yi and Wu, who released Kronos from their combined state. Kronos' eyes were filled with gratitude as he followed after Zeus. Oh, He's quite shy. Now shall we finish our conversation? Yvilk adjusted his monocle as he looked between Yi and Wu and Harmonia. His sharp teeth were shining brighter than usual as he grinned. The scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God has been paused. Because no one has completed the quest, rewards will be given according to contribution and participation. The mid-calculations are beginning. Current quest ranking. Tied first place, Brahm, Zeus, Jade Emperor. Fourth place, none. Fifth place, none. Many of the godly societies express discontent with the quest. Many gods file a complaint with the quest. A few gods claim a new quest should be created. Some gods request less than Malik greater than to intervene. The godly society less than Malik greater than refuses the quest, saying this quest has been decided under the agreement of the supreme gods and that they have no right to interfere. The demonic society less than L'infernal greater than looks at the godly societies with greedy eyes. The many gods become silent. The few gods become silent. The High Guardian, Yvilk, has uploaded announcements to the 98th floor. Announcement 1. It's been a while since I've said hello like this, hasn't it? Ohio. We know very well many of you are unhappy with this scenario quest. The Bureau is overwhelmed with inquiries and complaints at the moment. Announcement 2. We are in discussion of a follow-up quest that satisfies your desires. Please wait, and if you can't wait, you can deal with the consequences on your own. The rewards countermeasures for the paused scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God are currently underway. Please wait. The discussion is lasting longer than expected. Please wait. The discussion is lasting longer than expected. Please wait. According to the request of High Guardian, Yvilk, the content of the scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God has been changed. The new quest Liberation of the Heavenly World has been created. Scenario quest Liberation of the Heavenly World. Description. This quest has been urgently made to replace the scenario quest Birth of the One and Only God. The throne of the One and Only God was an important position that all gods desired. Taking into consideration public opinion that the title shouldn't be given rashly, the Central Bureau has asked Malik and L'Infernal to solve this problem. And after a long discussion, they came to a simple result: Messiah. Not only have the gods and demons lived wrongfully trapped inside the tower, but they were also limited to the 98th floor. What the gods need is a charismatic leader and savior to guide them and to release them from oppression. For that to occur, the chains that are currently restricting their freedom must be cut first. Now, take action to cut the chains. The god who contributes the most will be given honor and rewards befitting of the accomplishment. Conditions for success. 1. Find and eliminate the chains tying the heavenly world, Vivasvat. 2. Depending on your contribution, rewards will be given to the society and supreme god. Additionally, you have the right to any spoils of the battle. 3. Have the highest score. Qualifications. Time limit. Rewards. 1. Master Key. 2. Designation as One and Only God. 3. Title of Messiah. After the modified quest was announced, the heavenly world was shaken. The godly society less than Olympus greater than has announced their quest participation. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than has announced their quest participation. The godly society less than Diva greater than has announced their quest participation. All godly societies except less than Malik greater than have announced their quest participation. A majority of gods are happy, saying the time has finally come. Many gods are feeling competitive and wish to fight. A few gods who seek peace spill tears at the sacrifices that will soon take place. All demons observe the godly societies with interest. The heavenly world was shaken up, and the weight of the suddenly changed quest was heavy. The battle royale that began as choosing a one and only god was suddenly won for their liberation. The raid of Alpharon was the event that the heavenly world had attempted but failed multiple times. However, this time, the scale was different. It was a big event the Central Bureau was directly managing, and because they had the system keys, they could take counteraction against Alpharon's powers. And since the Sea of Time, and Yan Wu and his subordinates, were participating as well, they thought it could be possible. Most importantly, it wasn't just the supreme gods who were fighting to have the title of one and only god. The title would be given to the one who contributed the most, so the gods couldn't help but be interested. While all the godly societies announced their participation, Yan Wu nodded with satisfaction at the messages popping up in front of him. The parts about public opinion and consideration in the quest description are just to make it look nicer, but the current public opinion is more than good enough. The negotiations with the Sea of Time and the Central Bureau had gone smoother than expected. If they fought against each other, they'd be walking in circles, but if they fought together, the story changed. Yi and Wu pulled in 2 other groups into the negotiations. Metatron of less than Malik greater than nods satisfactorily at the results of the negotiations. Ball of less than L'infernal greater than looks forward to the next tea party. Since the heavenly world is involved now, no one will be able to act rashly. Yi and Wu had made not only the Sea of Time and the Central Bureau target Alpharon, but the entire heavenly world as well. He had once treated some societies with hostility and others as allies to cause internal strife and prevent the heavenly world from working together. From that perspective, the current quest seemed like the direct opposite of his actions until now, but he wasn't too concerned. It's actually more likely they'll fight amongst each other during the raid. They'll never be able to accept anyone trying to stand above them. It'll be a relief if they don't stab each other in the back. Yi and Wu expected the combined efforts to not run smoothly because the societies would be wary of each other. They were already divided into groups that did or did not possess the revelations, groups who were in the allied forces, and groups split by their individual stances, so disagreements were bound to happen. If the Sea of Time and the Central Bureau both stepped up, and they used all their cards while Yi and Wu used his yin sword, subjugation of the 77th floor was possible. The Martial King's dream would finally be realized. And during this opportunity, Yi and Wu planned on carrying out his last goal. It was a goal he hadn't told anyone, the allied forces, his subordinates, and even Kronos and his brother. The moment this quest is over, I'll break not just the 77th floor, but the damned tower itself. Yi and Wu's eyes flashed. The scenario quest, Liberation of the Heavenly World, has begun. The godly society less than Olympus greater than has entered the 77th floor. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than has entered the 77th floor. All godly societies excluding less than Malik greater than have entered the 77th floor. And like that, the final raid began. Chapter 646, A Common Front 2. Are you all right? Yi and Wu asked Kronos, who returned with a gloomy face. Putting aside the raid for Alpharon, he felt pity that Kronos looked so down. It seemed Kronos had heard harsh words from Zeus just now. He looked miserable, like a dog stranded in the rain. Kronos hadn't recovered his relationship with the others, so closing the gap with Zeus would probably be even more difficult. Yi and Wu personally didn't care if he was on bad terms with Zeus and the rest of the gods since they didn't quite register as siblings in his mind, but that wasn't the case for Kronos. Yi and Wu had no idea how to comfort his father. I can't understand how such a loving father was able to torment his children like that, even if he was influenced by the demonism. The demonism's control over Kronos' mind likely played a major role, but it was probably more accurate to say the time he spent on Earth had really changed him. Yi and Wu could see a glimpse of how much his mother had transformed Kronos. It was a small indicator of how much she had loved her husband. Since I also resented him, I suppose I'm not too different from Zeus and the others. Kronos as a father dismissed by his children, Yi and Wu had a bittersweet smile. He was able to have a close relationship with his father after coincidentally seeing the truth. However, if that hadn't happened, he wouldn't have been too far off from how Zeus and the others were acting now. It seems Jungwoo was able to sympathize with father the most. They do say the relationship between a father and son is the closest, but also the farthest. Maybe later I should find a way to help him. Yi and Wu didn't want to see Kronos struggling any longer. He hoped his father would always be confident and happy. Are you feeling better now? Open hollow corner bracket few. I only show you my bad sides. After slightly calming down, Kronos chuckled at Yi and Wu's question. He only had memories of them fighting on Earth during peaceful times back then, so he found it strange that they were able to understand each other in this battle-torn place. Still, he felt more at ease seeing his dependable son. Just then, Yi and Wu widened his eyes at the messages that suddenly appeared. Entrance to the 77th floor has been denied. The godly society less than Olympus greater than is transported back to the 98th floor. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than is transported back to the 98th floor. All godly societies are surprised at this sudden turn of events. Less than Malik greater than is searching for the cause of this unexpected occurrence. Kronos looked up as if he sensed something as well. Vivasvat, the master of the great holy territory of the 77th floor, is strongly refusing the trespassing of outsiders. Currently, the entire 77th is closed off. Open hollow corner bracket ha. Can he stop others since he has the talent of being able to reach anywhere? The gods, who had been prepared to start their onslaught of attacks, were flustered. They had to pay an immense amount of laws of causality just to leave the heavenly world, but all that had been for nothing since their entrance was being blocked. The Central Bureau attempts to change the settings of the 77th floor. It has failed. It has failed. The use of the system key has been denied. Even Yavilki's attempts weren't working, and this was an issue that Yi and Wu hadn't expected. It appeared that Alpharon had pulled out his hidden card. A message from Athena has arrived. Message: our attempts to descend are failing. At this rate, it'll be impossible to complete the quest. Can we search for another path? A message from Metatron has arrived. Message: I am searching for the reason with Ball, but it seems Alpharon has used his authority to close off the 77th like a hidden stage. Since he is the system's incarnation, he must know methods that cannot even be imagined. A message from Metatron has arrived. Message: this is something that can't be solved with the system key. Since Alpharon's authority is above the system keys, there's only one way to fix this: completing the master key. If you wish to continue the quest as we agreed, consider creating the master key now. Athena, Metatron, and Ball seemed taken aback. Although they were leaders in the heavenly world, their understanding of the system was lower than Alpharon's. However, unlike the flustered gods, Yi and Wu was able to become certain of victory with Alpharon's action. No, this is an opportunity. The Alpharon he knew was someone who'd directly face all the gods if they tried to step into the 77th floor. However, the fact that Alpharon had shut the doors and cut off communication with the outside world could only mean one thing. He is currently in some kind of danger. Yi and Wu didn't know if it had anything to do with the Sea of Time preventing Alpharon from moving, but this was an opportunity in his eyes. I'll be contradicting myself by creating the master key and handing it over now. I need to have the leash in my hands. If the door is closed, I'll have to use a dog hole. As Yi and Wu finished planning, Kronos returned to his sword form and slid into Yi and Wu's grip. They combined, and a long slit was left in the air to reveal emptiness. An unidentifiable power has attempted to hack the system. The hacking has failed. The hacking has failed. The hacking has succeeded. A strange phenomenon has occurred as a result of a system error. Emptiness has opened. It has been confirmed that someone abused the system. The abuser is designated as a bug, and the system's defenses have been raised to level 6. The patch is forcefully activated. Approach of the abuser has failed. Approach of the abuser has failed. The patch has failed to extract the abuser. The system's defenses have been neutralized. Many spaces appear and vanish along the emptiness. The system has failed to restore the emptiness. The system has failed to restore the emptiness. The system key snake has activated and chosen unique coordinates within the emptiness. A shortcut to the 77th floor has been established. New information about the abuser has been added. The emptiness faded away before the white world of the 77th floor appeared. At that moment, all the supreme gods who had been on the instant stage turned toward Yi and Wu. Open hollow corner bracket huh. Open hollow corner bracket. He created a shortcut. Even if he used the system key, how was he able to? Open hollow corner bracket. Abuser. What did he do? Open hollow corner bracket. Did he ignore Alpharon's authority? Metatron of less than Malik greater than is very surprised at your achievement. Ball of less than Linfernal greater than is extremely interested in your new ability. The supreme gods were shocked by Yi and Wu, who had hacked into what the Central Bureau had been denied from and also created a system error to form a shortcut. It was already surprising that he had a system key that could change most settings, but he was able to hack the system itself as well. The supreme god felt threatened by Yi and Wu's ability. They wanted to know what an abuser was, and how much authority the abuser had. However, as the gods of the heavenly world prepared to descend, the supreme god's attention returned to the 77th floor. Many beings of the 98th floor attempt to re-enter the 77th floor. Do-do-do. The instant stage rumbled. Many stars began to shine in the bright sky, eventually becoming a massive galaxy that seemingly fell to the ground. The many stars within it slid toward the emptiness, and transformed into a meteor shower. The countless beings of the heavenly world were trying to descend to the 77th floor through the instant stage. Immense pressure is focused on the 77th floor. Warning: the pressure has exceeded its limit. If the pressure increases, the floor and the stages may be destroyed. Warning: too many holy territories have been declared. The floor is overloaded. Beware of collapse. Warning: the durability of the 77th floor is decreasing rapidly. The godly society less than Olympus greater than has completed all descents. The godly society less than Chan sect greater than has completed all descents. The godly society less than Diva greater than has completed all descents. Less than Malik greater than gifts all societies that have attempted to descend with blessings. As the supreme gods didn't stall any longer and tossed themselves toward the shortcut, Kronos watched and quietly muttered to himself. It's really beginning now. As someone who had also been sacrificed by Alpharon, he knew that he'd have to finish things with Alpharon someday, but he never imagined a bustling battle like this would take place. When Kronos was most active during his prime, there hadn't even been a tower, and the gods and demons had stuck to their own territories. It had been rare for them to come across each other. Even if they met, they would just look at each other warily and part ways. Although quite a long time had passed since he first entered the tower, he still found it interesting to see gods moving on a large scale like this. However, because he knew this was the real first step to finding his youngest son, Jung-woo's soul, Kronos contained his various emotions and assisted Yi-and-woo. Zeus has descended on the 77th floor. For a moment, Kronos was silent. Through their combination, Yi-and-woo was instantly able to realize his father was momentarily feeling many somber emotions. Kronos composed himself and found stability again as a sword. He would keep his private and official matters separate. Having once been in the seat of the king of gods, he knew very well what he needed to do to help Yi-and-woo. Yi-and-woo tightened his hold on Vigrid. Then, all head and now. Open hollow corner bracket all right. Yi-and-woo entered the stage that was flickering with innumerable stars. You are attempting entrance into the 77th floor. With the expiration of the previous quest, the instant stage, Garden of the Gods, is disappearing. Chapter 647A Common Front 3. Haha, based on your expression, it looks like things aren't going your way. Count Ferenc laughed loudly at Alpharon, finding this situation to be rather entertaining. The world was so white, as if everything was covered with snow. However, for those living in it, it was a prison. Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket Alpharon finished his meditation and slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was the laughing Count Ferenc, and he stayed silent. His expression was hidden by the blinding light, but he still tried not to show any emotion. However, Count Ferenc, who had watched Alpharon for a long time and continuously rebelled against him since being trapped in this world, knew that Alpharon was feeling defeated. He said, I saw that there are a lot of people attempting transcendence or excavation after looking through the screen. The king of the one-horned tribe who got on your nerves multiple times, and the one called the head elder, and the ones who seemingly hid from you have caught onto something. Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. The one who worshipped your father just transcended too. Did you see? Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket. Count Ferenc didn't miss how Alpharon's breath caught. Although Alpharon was very indifferent to matters, and was even the one who caused the dragon massacre, Count Ferenc knew that Alpharon's weakness was his father. To Alpharon, his father was a symbol of both love and hate. Alpharon was grateful toward his father, who allowed him to be who he was today. But at the same time, he hated his father for forcing him to live this hell. What a shame. You did everything to stop it and you forced yourself to do it at the cost of all those people's tears, but it will all go to waste. I would feel frustrated and mad too. Tisk. Count Ferenc's words of comfort were filled with laughter. So what are you going to do now? Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket Alpharon still didn't say anything. He just sat there like a robot. Count Ferenc's sneer finally went away. Say something. You used to speak arrogantly all the time, so you should say something this time too. He became angry, showing the rage of a man who had been trapped here away from his wife and the rest of his family. However, even when he cursed and shouted until he was out of breath, panting roughly. Open hollow corner bracket close hollow corner bracket Alpharon just looked at Count Ferenc silently. Count Ferenc realized that it would always be his loss if he continued to be angry. He thought that it was difficult to move that stone-hard human. Plopping to the ground, he quietly watched Alpharon. His mouth curved into a sneer again. You're reaping what you sow. From Kronos, who once bested you, multiple other gods, and what will you do then? Open hollow corner bracket I close hollow corner bracket Alpharon slowly began to speak in a low voice. His voice was scratchy, like he hadn't spoken in a while. Open hollow corner bracket will do the same as always. With that, Alpharon closed his eyes and started to meditate again. His consciousness fell deep within him. When he opened his eyes again, he was greeted by a world filled with golden rays this time. Then, he stretched his arms out in front of him as if trying to grasp something. Creak, creak, the golden world was filled with various sized cogwheels and springs. It was similar to the inner mechanisms of a machine. This was the space where Alpharone's subconscious was synchronized with, the place that was called the world's back end. Idea. All the small and large cogwheels spinning in this place were the laws that composed the world. They were physical and natural laws, as well as laws of concepts that led to the creation of civilizations. The gods and demons called the cogwheels conceptual gods or elder gods. The cogwheels were created with the universe, and they didn't have any ego over that long time of existence. They only remained as conceptual beings. Still, they were the ones who enabled the universe to continue expanding and developing. Mother Earth had also begun from a small cogwheel out of the many. Although she was now gone, this mammoth world wouldn't stop functioning just because a small part disappeared. The world was living and couldn't stop. Once it did, it would die. But Alpharone was holding the conceptual gods, and turned the necessary parts as he wished. Without anyone's assistance alone, he was demonstrating an impossible feat. Perhaps the heavenly demon had done something similar during the world's genesis. The fact that Alpharone was spinning the ideas himself was surprising enough to the gods and demons, but he was doing it alone. However, it did take a toll on him. A few days would have been fine, but even Alpharone would be exhausted doing it over all those years. Warning. The system is being overloaded with excessive data processing. Please remove yourself from the problematic area. Warning. Part of the system's functions is paused due to the unrestrained amount of information. It is advised the system is restarted. Warning. This location is not sufficient for the system's functions too. Warning messages continued to pop up, but Alpharone intentionally ignored them. From a few years ago, the conceptual gods and elder gods had awakened from their slumber and were attempting to descend to the heavenly world to turn the ideas. Alpharone didn't know exactly how they had woken up or had the desire to turn the ideas, but after the turn of events, Alpharone always had to focus 50% of his consciousness at this location to prevent their descent. And this was the reason why he hadn't been able to use his full strength when Yi and Wu escaped Persephone in Tartarus, or when he had tried to exuviate in the Chang'an library. But now, the situation was worse. It certainly didn't help that Alpharone was always kept busy here. Moreover, there were hindrances that tried to tie him to this place and exhaust his strength. Clatter, clank, chains that flew out from black lumps in the air bound Alpharone's hands and feet. The chains became taut as they tried to pull Alpharone, but he resisted them. Open hollow corner bracket. Darkness is coming. You must know better than anyone that light will be covered by such darkness, but will you continue repeating this meaningless struggle? Close hollow corner bracket. Just then, one of the black lumps opened to reveal Harmonia's eye. The one who awakened the sleeping conceptual and elder gods, and wore him out with the chains after connecting to ideas, looked at him. You were the one who desired twilight the most, and this is an opportunity for you to let down that heavy burden, so why do you insist on staying here? Alpharone looked back at Harmonia's eye. Under the white light, although weary, his face was still void of emotion. That's my karma and duty. Open hollow corner bracket. Didn't you detest and despise this duty more than anyone? Didn't you hate your life having to repeat the same actions that you didn't wish to do? Open hollow corner bracket. If people neglected their duties because they didn't like it and turned their backs on it, the world would be filled with self-indulgent and reckless beings. There needs to be an idiotic fool like me for the world to function normally, don't you think? Harmonia almost felt nauseated from Alpharone's steady voice. Aren't you also steadily carrying out your duties without any complaint? Everyone is like that. Open hollow corner bracket. Even if your burdens are ones that your father left behind after escaping from this life. Open hollow corner bracket. My opinion doesn't change with that. Open hollow corner bracket. It's difficult to understand you. Open hollow corner bracket. There's nothing difficult about it. You and I are just walking the paths we believe in. Conflict that arises from it cannot be helped. Even if I become weary as you said, I won't stop walking this path. Isn't that what penance is? Harmonia smiled bitterly. You should have been born as a monk. Then you would have become a renowned ascetic and made the world a better place. You wouldn't be hated as you are now. Open hollow corner bracket. From where I'm from, there's this saying. At that moment, Harmonia thought she saw Alpharone's eyes flash behind the light covering his face. Open hollow corner bracket. If you meet Buddha on the road, kill him, and if you meet your teacher, kill him. Alpharone emphasized his words. If I don't go to hell, who will? Open hollow corner bracket. As expected. You shouldn't have come to a place like this. Someone who can be a hero has dirtied his hands with blood. Close hollow corner bracket. Harmonia's voice turned solemn. So, out of respect for you, I will lead you to sleep. Open hollow corner bracket. That won't be easy. I am all for one. I am above all in everything. I am Vivasvat, the father of my mother, who is the mother of all humans, gave your name to you. Do. Ideas whirled around Alphorone and he roared. Who can stop me? Go ahead and try, if you'd like. This is the 77th floor, the Gate of Light. The trial of the 77th floor is beginning. Trial. The truth is nothing but the shadows of images. Everything has a universal appearance that cannot be changed, and the world also contains an invariant change. This place is an imitation of the world that contains that invariant change. You will not be able to feel any senses or discern things properly. Your consciousness must be looking toward the white light. Perceive the light and obtain the something that is beyond it. Then, your soul will also obtain something. When Yin Wu entered through the shortcut, he saw a white world which was the location he had seen in Chronos' memories. The world was purely filled with light. Once exposed to it, his soul was seemingly becoming purified and all complicated thoughts were disappearing. However, this displeased Yin Wu. He was being forced to experience this sensation that he didn't want. This could be a strategy to relax anyone who entered the state. An unidentifiable power has cancelled the effects of the stage. The condition, ataraxia, has been aborted. Yin Wu felt like he was abruptly awakened. Warning. This is player Vivasvat's great holy territory, where his power is in effect. Trespassers may be penalized. It is advised that you return. Warning. You are currently trespassing on someone else's great holy territory. Various debuffs are activated. Your immunity has decreased as a result of the debuffs. Your resistance has decreased as a result of the debuffs. The system key snake has activated and cancelled the warning messages. Beyond the endless warning messages, Yin Wu could see bursts of light exploding with sonic booms. Do. The gods of the heavenly god had all descended and were attacking the great holy territory, wanting to waste no time finding Alpharone's true body. The supreme gods who quickly entered the world of light shined the most. Open hollow corner bracket sun. Just then, Chronos spoke up. Before coming here, Chronos had asked Yin Wu for a favor, to save Count Ferenc, who was trapped somewhere here. Count Ferenc was the savior who had helped Chronos when he was pulled here from the tutorial. Yin Wu also knew that he wouldn't have met Chronos and ultimately gotten here if it wasn't for Count Ferenc, so he agreed to save him. Most importantly, he was the vampiric lord's husband. It's been a while since I've been here. SSSSS's black haze floated up behind Yin Wu and gathered into a human shape. The vampiric Lord Batory then looked at the world of light with narrowed eyes. All kinds of emotions wavered in her eyes. Chapter 648 A Common Front 4. Mom. Sesha jumped into Ananta's arms as soon as Ananta turned the corner into the village. Ananta stroked her daughter's hair lovingly, saying, "Did you obediently listen to everyone while I was gone?" "Of course. I am a good child." Sesha started speaking confidently, but then her words trailed off as she looked in another direction. Ananta could see cold sweat beading on her forehead. What a horrible liar. Ananta barely held in her laughter and narrowed her eyes. She asked Sesha, "You must have caused some trouble, didn't you?" "And no, nothing. Do you want to tell Mom?" Yes. I told the boys to stop breaking my rubber band, but they didn't listen. And they kept on trying to lift the girls' skirts too, so you gave them a beating?" "And no." Sesha fidgeted uncomfortably. Ananta slightly grinned. "Then, 5 beatings." "What? Ha ha ha." Ananta burst out laughing. The One-Horned tribe members traditionally started learning martial arts when they were children. There were many cases when, playing, among children were actual fights, and they nearly always won fights with children from outside the village, but since Sesha had disciplined such rough children, Ananta couldn't help but laugh. She knew that Sesha ruled over the village's children with an iron fist, and it seemed like Sesha had suppressed any children who didn't listen to her. Ananta wondered if this was because of Cha Jung-woo's blood or Brahm's teachings. It's probably because of Jung-woo. She's exactly like him when it comes to her competitive streak. If Jung-woo knew Ananta's thoughts, he'd deny it vehemently, but Ananta already knew the personalities of the Cha family too well. "So our Sesha punished the boys for all the girls?" "Yeah." Sesha brightened again upon realizing Ananta wouldn't scold her and nodded. "But Mom." "Yes. What about Dad and Brahm?" Sesha looked around, searching for her other family members. Ananta smiled wryly at her daughter. After saving Hyang, the others had followed Yi and Wu to the 77th floor to catch Alpharon. Ananta knew that she would only get in their way, so she had returned. Part of it was also because she had left Sesha alone for too long. Even though Sesha had grown to be such a cheerful child, she still needed care from her parents. Ananta also thought she had been too irresponsible as a mother from the moment she fell asleep until now. She pulled Sesha closer. Sesha's eyes widened, not understanding the sudden change in her mother, but she still rubbed her face in Ananta's arms. As she giggled, Ananta stroked Sesha's hair and looked up at the sky. Jung-woo, come back soon. Sesha is waiting for you. Ananta just desperately hoped that Jung-woo could just return safely even if the subjugation of the 77th floor failed. The vampiric lord had kept to herself after making her home in Yi and Woo's shadow. It was difficult for her to roam the stages as she wished after her incomplete exuviation attempt, and she knew that she wouldn't be of much help to Yi and Woo. She was much stronger than Yi and Woo when they met in the demonic sea, but she was left in the dust after Yi and Woo came out of the Changgong library. She was then embarrassed to call herself one of the kings of the demonic sea. Even Bu Faust, who had been her rival during their younger days, had surpassed her a long time ago. It was why the vampiric lord had trained intensely inside of the shadow. Fortunately, Yi and Woo was a successor of darkness, something she had also once sought to become. When she was in his territory, she could receive the baptism of darkness, and she was also able to mature her soul with the glimpse of the revelations she saw in the Changgong library. Her goal was simple, to become stronger. She completed the exuviation that she hadn't fully completed because of Alpharon, and even transcended in an attempt to become a divine being. And the moment Yi and Woo stepped into the 77th floor, saying this would be the final battle, the vampiric lord realized it was time for her to finally step up. Her husband, whom she had even missed in her dreams, was here. The vampiric lord always had a cynical expression, but her face was now slightly red with excitement. It seems you've become stronger. My promise to help you would become nothing if I only got in your way. I never make false statements. And I will save the count with my own hands. I also have to stab that Alpharon's heart with a knife. Seeing the vampiric lord's blazing eyes, Yi and Woo could see that she definitely wouldn't get in his way. Her complete divinity seemed to be one of the strongest out of the kings in the demonic sea. Even though she might not be as strong as Laplace, she could probably have the title of third king or fourth king. The head elder also came through the portal after the vampiric lord. So this is the 77th floor. Back in my day, Red Dragon had trouble just getting through the 76th floor. You really have to live long to see things. Light scattered around him as he adjusted his glasses. His aura was different from before, he subconsciously made the atmosphere around him feel heavier. Clearly, he had also transcended. Upon seeing this, Yi and Woo was certain there were few in the heavenly world who'd be able to face the head elder now. SSSS as Yi and Woo's shadow expanded, and his subordinates appeared one by one. There was Shannon, who was in high spirits that they were finally facing Alpharon, and Hanryong, who was sharpening his swords with an indifferent expression. Rebecca, who had silently transformed into wind and breezed around Yi and Woo, was also present. Lamb, who was assembling the line of soldiers, was also there with Valdebek, who excitedly roared with the other giants and looked forward to the upcoming battle. Then, there were Kalitas and the Summer Queen, who let their anger boil to avenge their dead race as they flew above the world of light. Bu Faust, who cast hundreds of magic circles in the sky as his inferno sights blazed behind Yi and Woo, as well as Khan and Leonhard, who watched the other subordinates, were here too. After them, the portal opened to reveal Laputa. Open hollow corner bracket. Damn you. You should have called me if you knew an amusing event like this would occur. Fante's voice rang out through Laputa's voice amplifier. At Laputa's entrance stood Fant, Adora, Doyle, the other Arthea members, and even Arthea's subordinate clans. All of their faces were tense with nervousness. After all, they were facing off against a stronger player in the one-man clan, Alpharon. However, many of them also felt enlivened at the fact that they were standing in a place where history would be newly written. Let's begin. As soon as Yi and Woo's words fell, the first to move was the Summer Queen. Boom. Crash. She stretched her head back and began to spew breath. When the element of death was added to her already existing element of fire, as well as darkness, her breath was even more powerful than before. Not only did her fire pierce through the light into its deepest depths, but it also spread like a wildfire and swept away anything in its path. Krah! Kalitas roared as he plunged down, activating magic and slashing apart the world of light. To the two dragons of death, Alpharon was a mortal enemy who led their race to extinction after causing the 2 dragon massacres. It was only natural that they moved first, since they had finally reached their destination after a long wait. The players who were watching began to think the battle was evenly matched, and the dragons of death definitely stood a chance. Laputa moved again, and the players jumped onto the stage after casting buff spells onto themselves. The world was so full of light it was impossible to tell where the sky ended and the ground began, but their fighting spirit blinded them. Open hollow corner bracket many will die out. Kronos clicked his tongue as he watched the moths flying toward the light, but Yianwu replied nonchalantly, I never forced them to. If they die, they can be reused again, so our forces won't decrease. Kronos momentarily felt a sense of disharmony. Although he was a god for longer and had spent a short time living as a human, he felt pity for the humans who were about to die. However, his son, who was still human, had responded with such a cold answer that it seemed out of place. It was true Yianwu was close with death, and dying from battle was the fate of players who entered the tower, but Yianwu saw the players as mere resources and not humans. However, at the same time, Kronos understood his son. You still haven't forgiven this world of the tower. Others would think that Yianwu's revenge was over once the 8 clans and the 9 kings died, but it wasn't. The driving force behind Zhongwu's death wasn't the 8 clans or the 9 kings, but the bystanders and their intentional neglect. They had shown interest when Heavenwing and Arthea had been successful, but when their help was truly needed, they turned their backs. Everyone had been responsible. Of course, Yianwu didn't massacre all the players since it wasn't possible to do so. But Yianwu only viewed the groups of people who followed his clan for their success as tools. He'd never liked them. Crash, crash, crash. Explosions big and small spread through the battlefield, and Shannon and the rest of the subordinates led Pluto to attempt landing on the ground. The spring of death spins rapidly. The subordinates are blessed with fight and death. The march of death begins. Yianwu looked at the breaking world of light, and pulled out the pocket watch to connect it to his chains. Clatter. You have been connected to the spring of time. The spring is very damaged. You cannot use a majority of its functions. Holy power is being input to restore a part of its functions. Click, click. The needles of the watch spun rapidly. The spring of time is activated. Time is sped up by 2x. Flash. Yianwu became the light as he cleared through the path his subordinates had made him. Gripping Vigrid, he combined with it as he cut down everything in his way. The spring of death spins at intense speeds. The countless cogwheels are spinning in synchronization. Currently geared cogwheels. 666. The concept of death is activated. The world of light shook after recognizing Yianwu's presence. The Great Holy Territory has recognized the presence of a dangerous being. The strongest barrier wall is activated. When the thousands of rays exuding from the world of light all transformed into something else, Yianwu's face stiffened. The light had turned into dragons, which had been massacred by Alpharon in their attempt to surpass the 77th floor. They have become Alpharon's subordinates. Open corner bracket Vivaspot. Until the end. Naturally, the Summer Queen lost all reasoning to her anger and her breath became more intense. Kalitas' roar also boomed throughout the stage. In the meantime, the players who hadn't been able to clear the 76th floor because of the Summer Queen froze. They faced the flood of dragons. Amid the chaotic situation, 6 ancient-level dragons gathered to spew their breath at Yianwu, who was about to sweep them away with his sword thunder. After all, it wouldn't be easy to ignore them when black lightning suddenly fell in front of him. The Allied forces, Niflheim, has announced their participation. Hell descends. Boom. Hell appeared with her striking form and got rid of all the breath with a powerful thrust of her hand. Open hollow corner bracket. How dare you try to touch S body with your dirty hands. Even I haven't been able I mean, anyway. As the president of the third term fan club, I can never accept this, so go away. Close hollow corner bracket. Chapter 649 A Common Front 5. Hell. Yianwu's eyes widened at Hell's unexpected appearance. Hell suddenly trembled like she had been electrified. Then, she looked back at Yianwu with a flushed face. For some reason, her breathing was rough. Can you say my name again? Hell. Yianwu had the impression that Hell's bold attitude had suddenly disappeared, but he heeded her request with a flabbergasted expression since she had helped him. Open hollow corner bracket Kya. Said my name. Hell. Hell has no regrets even if she dies today. Close hollow corner bracket. Quote. Hell jumped up and down with glee. Her sparkling eyes almost seemed dangerous, causing Yi and Wu to subconsciously take a step back. Hash hash hash. Just as hell was about to run into Yi and Wu's arm. Open hollow corner bracket hell. What are you doing this time? Open hollow corner bracket tisk. That annoying nagger is back again. Hell grumbled with annoyance, looking at a distant figure who spoke to her from above. Jormungandr descends. Fenrir descends. A massive snake and a tiny puppy, Jormungandr and Fenrir, appeared with black lightning. They were next to Hell. Woof. On top of the tail-wagging Fenrir was the child Agaras, like always. Open hollow corner bracket hoo-hoo. How have you been? Agaras descends. Yi and Wu had no idea why Agaras of the East Demon Army appeared with Fenrir and the others, but his arrival meant Yi and Wu would have more powerful forces on his side. However, Yi and Wu didn't know if he could trust Agaras. Open hollow corner bracket anyhow, is it because it's been a while since I've seen you? There's a very nice scent coming from you. Agaras looked at Yi and Wu with greed. He seemed to be particularly fixated on the chains and the pocket watch as if he smelled a new scent. He licked his lips with his red tongue. A scent that's familiar yet tasty. SSS's. The pocket watch trembled before Cha Jung-woo's vestige body slowly appeared with white wings that directly contrasted Agar's black ones. Long time no see, Agaras. Open hollow corner bracket I knew it. It's you. You. Ah ha ha. Agaras burst out laughing maniacally, unbefitting of his 5-year-old appearance. Then, he suddenly stopped with a smirk. It's quite nice to see brothers next to each other like this. Yes. Very nice. Open hollow corner bracket you still haven't given up. Open hollow corner bracket give up. Why, I've always said that you brothers are mine. No one can ever take your souls from me. Open hollow corner bracket the reason why you're doing this isn't that you want our souls but because of St. Peter's. Open hollow corner bracket shut up. Cha Jung-woo, even if it's you, I'll rip your mouth apart if you speak further. Agaras cut Cha Jung-woo off mid-sentence and growled. Suddenly, the maniac aura around him turned into one of fury and heated up the atmosphere, but the bitterness on Cha Jung-woo's face didn't disappear. Yi and Wu realized that there was another reason he didn't know regarding Agar's lunatic obsessiveness. Agaras glared not at Cha Jung-woo's vestige body, but at the pocket watch. The greed that had been present until a moment ago was now a mad obsession, and his desire to have it could be felt by Yi and Wu. It seemed like Agaras was ready to bolt for the pocket watch, but he wasn't able to. I want to punish you, Cha Jung-woo, for saying that impudent nonsense, but close hollow corner bracket. Swoosh. The dragons of light were rushing toward them again. Open hollow corner bracket I'll have to think about it after getting rid of those annoying things. Agares thrust his tens of pairs of black wings and darkened the sky as he soared up. On Agare's request, the East Demon Army will advent. The allied forces less than East Demon Army greater than has declared their participation. Agar's black wings seemed to disperse, and demons exuding demonic energy appeared between them to simultaneously hunt the dragons of light. Woof, woof woof. Fenrir transformed into a large wolf and tore apart the dragons of light's necks near him. He clawed at the dragons appearing behind him and slashed their heads. Meanwhile, Jormungandr and Hel busily got to work, and messages saying the demons of Niflheim had descended popped up with bursts of black light. Open hollow corner bracket hung. Yeah, let's hurry. Tick. Talk. The speed of the spring of time has sped up. The current speed is 4x. Yi and Wu slowed the surrounding world as much as he could and moved to the center of the stage again. The spring of time is running as fast as possible. The current speed of 8x. The spring of death is being sped up. The two springs are activated at the same time. Your body is overloaded. Warning. The cogwheels may be more damaged and worn if the speed of the two springs is too fast. Warning. The speed of the two springs is too fast and your divine powers may be harmed. Yi and Wu's body was overburdened because the springs were wound simultaneously. Even if his soul had matured, his body was mortal, and he hadn't exuviated yet. The only reason why he had lasted until now was that he had a unique giant demonic divine dragon body. However, he paid no mind to the pressure on his body. Warning. The speed of the two springs is too fast. The durability of your body is decreasing rapidly. Please be cautious. Warning. The damage to the spring of time has exceeded the expected amount. It is advised you stop. The collective use of the two springs has strengthened the concept of death. An unidentifiable power has been strengthened through the concept. Rather than stopping, Yi and Wu entirely focused the released strength into Vigrid and let loose the 8 extremes of sword thunder with his yin sword. Crash, crash, rumble. Boom! Every time he swung Vigrid, sword thunder crashed down onto the world of light with the concept of death. The dragons of light chasing after him were swept away. An unidentifiable strength wishes to dismember the great holy territory, territory of light. It has failed. An unidentifiable strength wishes to dismember the great holy territory, territory of light. It has failed. The world of light tried to endure Yi and Wu's brutal attacks, but it wasn't easy. An unidentifiable strength has successfully implanted death within the great holy territory, territory of light. The durability of the great holy territory, territory of light, decreases dramatically. All graces have been paused. All blessings have been paused. All functions have been paused. When Yi and Wu reached the fifth extreme, the great holy territory began to let down, and the wall of defense on the sixth extreme completely collapsed. An unidentifiable strength has successfully taken apart a part of the barrier. Yi and Wu landed beyond the broken barrier, reaching a world that was so white it almost seemed to be waiting for him. A prison, it was what Count Ferenc had called this place in Kronos' memories. "Count, where are you, Count?" Just then, the vampiric lord who followed after Yi and Wu, called for Count Ferenc desperately. She had always acted with dignity, but right now, the anguish on her face was plain to see. "Count." However, it wasn't easy to find the inmates because the prison was wider than outside the barrier. Just when Yi and Wu was about to open his fiery golden eyes, he heard Count Ferenc's voice from far away. "Batory, I'm here, Batory." "Where?" Count Ferenc's voice was now close, but they didn't see him. They wondered if they were listening to a hallucination that Alpharon had created. Or perhaps, then, Yi and Wu brought down Vigrid midair at the thought that suddenly occurred to him. What he attempted to cut wasn't this prison, but the system beyond it. An unidentifiable strength has immobilized the defenses set up in the holy territory. The defense system, illusion, has been paused. SSS's. As if the white curtains on a stage were pulled back, the light retreated from the world, revealing countless people. "Count, Batory, is it truly you?" Count Ferenc and the vampiric lord, who had never forgotten each other for the last hundreds of years, stroked each other's cheeks as they looked into each other's eyes. They felt and sniffed each other as if to confirm the person in front of them was real. Then, they tightly embraced each other. "Summon of the dead has been activated. Who would you like to summon?" "Lana." Swish. And when Yi and Wu summoned their daughter, Lana, the reunited family let out a flood of tears. The parents and daughter had finally met and seemingly achieved the impossible. Count Ferenc was heartbroken that Lana could only return as a soul. Because he could only helplessly watch as his daughter had died, he felt even more in pain. However, even though they were crying, they didn't lose their rationality. They couldn't lose this opportunity because of these momentary emotions. Crow numbers. Count Ferenc patted his wife and daughter's backs as he turned back to Yi and Wu. Kronos had descended and was smiling at him. Open hollow corner bracket. I kept my promise from back then. When Kronos was planning to escape this prison with Count Ferenc's Fang, he had casually asked the Count what he wished for. "My wish. Ha ha ha, I'm happy just thinking about it. The fact that we can hope for such things when we don't even know if we'll be successful. So tell me, thoughts are a precious treasure that no one can take from you. Would you wish to leave this place or learn where your family is?" If I am granted a wish. Ahem, you must have a wish. So what is it?" "I wish to see my family." "You don't want to escape?" "I don't want anything more. If only I could hold my wife and daughter's hands. If I can do that one last time before dying, I would want nothing else." Back then, Count Ferenc had just smiled sadly, as if he thought it wouldn't be possible. He had forgotten about it, but Kronos had remembered it to this day and really granted him that wish. The Count was so grateful that he looked at Kronos and Yi and Wu with a wavering gaze. Then, with determined eyes, he slowly kneeled and bowed on the ground. "I, follower of darkness, Nadesti Chachet Ferenc, do solemnly swear. My body and soul will forever follow during my life and after death." After him, the vampiric lord and Lana also kneeled. "I, follower of darkness, Erzabet Batory, also solemnly swear." "I, follower of darkness, Lana Ferenc, also solemnly swear." A new follower has pledged their allegiance. A new follower has pledged their allegiance. The amount of faith in you has exceeded the limit. You have gained more properties of darkness. You have gained more properties of darkness. The concept of death has been strengthened. Obtain more followers who worship you. The greater the faith in you, the more you can use darkness. The Black King has sensed your presence for the first time. Chapter 650 A Common Front 6. SSSS's. Darkness bloomed around Yi and Wu and wrapped around him, creating a spine-chilling sight. Yi and Wu felt as if the concept of death around him was stronger. The spring was more controlled after being combined with the 666 cogwheels. This was probably the meaning of that message saying that he had gained more properties of darkness. However, there was another message that stood out to him, that the Black King had noticed his presence. This was no trifling matter. Does this mean the Black King is slowly waking up? Or did he sense my presence in his subconscious? This was the first time Yi and Wu had received this kind of message. According to the heavenly demon, the Black King was tightly sealed beneath the tower, and he had fallen into a long slumber due to the shock. The world's minus or negatives, concepts such as antimatter, disorder, dreams and death, and chaos were created at the time. And because the Black King was closer to a conceptual being, he didn't have any particular consciousness or ego, which was why it was said he fell into a deep slumber. The fact that sensed was used in the message held many meanings. Yi and Wu didn't know if that would benefit or harm him. Since he was borrowing the Black King's power, it would most likely be a source of greater power, but that meant that Yi and Wu would be more bound to the Black King. Moreover, as long as other successors like Harmonia existed, he couldn't use the Black King's power with ease. It was possible the Black King was trying to have Yi and Wu and Harmonia compete against each other. Whatever his intent was, it resulted in Yi and Wu becoming warier. If the Black King was truly slowly waking up, as Harmonia and the Sea of Time proclaimed, it wasn't something Yi and Wu could disregard. However, that was that, and the most important thing now was focusing on killing Alpharaon. Yi and Wu looked down at Count Ference's family, who had sworn to worship him as a god. By having others worship me as a divine being, it's the best way to collect lots of faith, and quality faith at that. The gods and demons of death had already pledged to serve him as their master. However, that was only the allegiance of subjects to their king, not as worshippers of a god. Although kings and gods were similar because they were both obeyed as authority figures, they were completely different. Obeying a king meant the king had an aptitude to lead. It was almost an exchange since people obeyed kings hoping they'd rule in their favor. Meanwhile, obeying a god meant you sincerely submitted to the god and followed them unconditionally. There weren't any calculations or exchanges that were involved, since their beliefs were unwavering. They purely gave their hearts and they didn't resent the gods even if the gods didn't care about them. At times, the worship of a god became pure madness, or it became paranoia, and this caused harm to others. The Devil Army and the Sea of Time were prime examples. However, most people who followed a religion were able to fulfill the want that all humans had, so excluding a few rare cases, religion usually had positive effects. The gods and demons served Yi and Wu, they didn't worship him. Their worship was only for the Black King. If Yi and Wu gave up the position of the Black King's successor, the gods and demons of death would turn their backs on him without looking back. They'd point their swords at him saying he was a traitor. But they're different. Yi and Wu smiled as he watched Count Ference's family, who had all sought darkness and gained strength that was powerful enough to hold the mighty Alpharaon down. And they had all pledged their submission to him, not the Black King, but Yi and Wu himself. Because Count Ference's family were all pretty much divine gods, the faith they offered stacked up inside of Yi and Wu. He felt as if his soul, which didn't have space to grow fuller, had filled up. He was already worshipped as the king of the ghost giants and controlled the dragons of death, but this was an entirely new feeling. It was what Yi and Wu had wanted all along, raising the amount of faith in him, and focusing all the faith below the 77th floor to him. Alpharaon's raid would be an important key to opening that door, after all. Yi and Wu didn't say anything to their oath of submission. From experience, he knew that silence could carry a weight that got his point across. Instead, he looked at the other beings in the prison. Part of the reason why Yi and Wu invaded the prison first was due to Kronos' request to keep Count Ference's promise, but he had another target in mind too. Eek. Quote quote, quote quote. The inmates, who were carefully peeking at Count Ference's family, quickly looked away when they met Yi and Wu's gaze. They looked like thieves who were caught in the job. Strangely, they all seemed discouraged. Yi and Wu could even feel their fear as they glanced at him. If they were beings who Alpharaon forced here, they must have been quite powerful now. It was like their souls were defeated. Count. Yes, sir. What happened? Yi and Wu didn't speak formally to the Count as Kronos did. Since they had chosen to worship him as a god, he needed to establish a suitable hierarchy. At times, speech was the prime factor that determined relationships. Fortunately, Count Ferenc seemed to think it was only natural. Although Yin Wu didn't specify the nature of his question, the Count understood him perfectly. Their invisible connection of faith allowed him to assume what Yin Wu meant. Restricted freedom and eons of time can dull even the sharpest minds. Are you saying they're rusted? Yes. Yin Wu narrowed his eyes. It meant all the inmates in this prison had lost their determination to fight against Alpharon. They were once ambitious, skilled beings who represented players and rankers and even attempted to bring down Alpharon's fortress. They seemed the same as they were in Kronos' memories. At the time, the only one who had shown interest in the captured Kronos was Count Ferenc. The others were disinterested or only curious in the slightest, they were lethargic. Still, Yin Wu couldn't believe that all of these powerful beings could lose their resolve no matter how long it had been. Maybe it was harder for them to recover after being defeated by an obstacle since they were always at the top. Or Alpharon tried to pull something. If anyone was exposed to the ataraxia that took effect upon entering the 77th floor, they'd continue to lose both strength and willpower. Count Ferenc was probably not as defeated because he'd entered the prison relatively recently. This won't do. Yin Wu narrowed his eyes. He had planned on encouraging the inmates and using them to fight against Alpharon, as well as having them worship him like Count Ferenc's family to raise the amount of his faith. But he was met with an unexpected obstacle. However, that didn't mean he could just leave them be. It'll be a pain in the side if they become Alpharon's subordinates like the dead dragon race. Yin Wu hardened his resolve and decided to be harsh. Even though Alpharon was busy handling the other divine beings, he'd soon realize Yin Wu had invaded deep into his territory. Yin Wu needed to finish everything before that. Swish! Yin Wu released as much darkness as he could. Then, shadows began to spread along the untainted ground like ink stains. Shadow domain. What's this? Ack. The inmates retreated to escape the unfamiliar shadows, but they couldn't get away from it. The shadows instantly turned the prison to black. Clatter, clatter. The chains that soared from the shadows tightly bound the inmates' limbs. The inmates struggled to escape, but there was no way they could overcome the chains that even Mother Earth couldn't. Summon of the Dead has been activated. Who would you like to summon? Laplace. SSS's. Open corner bracket. You've called for me again. Ho ho ho. What can I do for you, master? Block it. Yin Wu felt like he heard something he shouldn't have, but his brain automatically filtered the words and allowed him to speak. Fortunately, Laplace immediately understood Yin Wu's orders. He returned to his large true body and stretched his hand forward. At the same time, the inner light rays that the shadow wasn't able to reach extended toward Yin Wu. Laplace touched those rays and they scattered into different directions. Looking at Laplace's half-broken hand, the inmates all felt chills running down their backs. What would have happened if they had been exposed to that light? They'd have died without leaving any trace behind. Alpharon is returning. Open corner bracket. As a High Guardian, there was something I was curious about. Laplace was looking at where the rays scattered in an attempt to form a human shape. The player, Vivaspot, is descending. Open corner bracket. There are already beings, the High Guardians, to restore and manage the system to ensure it works fine, but there's also a separate incarnation who even has an ego. And it's not like he works with us. I don't know why the Bureau is required. So the result I came to was simple. Laplace was larger than the titans Yin Wu had seen in Tartarus, so he couldn't see his face. However, Yin Wu felt like Laplace was smiling as he said this. I can learn the answer if I beat that incarnation up. Then, I'll see how the system responds. And right now, my master has created a nice opportunity for me. Laplace was a magical creature who had climbed up to the tower for amusement because he was bored in the demonic sea. Then, when the magical creature found another source of amusement, he swung his regenerated arm at Alpharon with a flushed face. Crash! Although Laplace only swung his arm, the space in the swing's trajectory was crushed. Part of the holy territory has permanently been damaged. Part of the holy territory has permanently been damaged. A new substance that has not been observed in the tower is contaminating the holy territory. Even if Laplace had gained the title of player, he was made of chaos and disorder. If he left for another world, he'd easily be classified as an outer god. On the other hand, Alpharon was born from the heavenly demon, who had created the tower and had the properties of light, which represented balance and order. Of course Laplace would be a pain in Alpharon's side, since they had polar opposite properties. Laplace wasn't bound to the tower's system like the players or transcendence that gave faith to Alpharon. He was one of the few who wasn't bound to Alpharon. Naturally, Laplace's attacks were critical to Alpharon. Crash. The clash between the two heavily influenced the stage. Cracks began to appear throughout the light-filled stage. Darkness stained the light like ink on clothes, and the prison that bound the countless inmates collapsed to pieces. Laplace burst out laughing. His maniacal laughter spread through the stage. All the gods and demons were looking at him. Clatter. Yian-Wu tightened the chains and asked the scared inmates a question. I'll give you one last chance. What will you choose between freedom and captivity? If they wanted freedom, they'd have to fight a painful battle, but death would follow if they wanted to be comfortable in captivity. Of course, if they chose the latter, Yian-Wu planned on forcing them into being his subordinates. If they had no will to fight, he could put reins on them and work them like cows. If they chose the former, he'd give them an opportunity to regain their willpower. Fight and death were both of his divine powers, so it didn't matter to Yian-Wu what choice they made. He just asked them out of courtesy what they wanted. We will fight. The answers that returned were the last of their passion to fight. Please allow us to help. The inmates had seen a small glimpse of hope upon seeing Count Ferenc and the rest of the divine beings that surrounded the prison. A smile spread across Yian-Wu's face. I'll help you so you can. A new follower has pledged their allegiance. A new follower has pledged their allegiance. The amount of your faith is increasing rapidly. The amount of faith in you has exceeded the limit. You have gained more properties of darkness. You have gained more properties of darkness. Yian-Wu baptized the inmates with darkness, making them new followers. Suddenly, a halo floated above the followers. The sight of tens of light rays gathering as one was radiant but fearsome at the same time. Hidden within them were the energies of death and fighting. Crash. The divine ability of fight has been strengthened. Chapter 651 Scythe 1. The world illuminated by the dispersion of light was beautiful. Unlike the light of Alpharon, which forced all the beings it touched to submit, the lights the new believers produced showed a completely different temperament, a mixture of death and fight aura. More darkness properties have been acquired. The amount of faith is accumulating at a steep rate. Faith level has crossed the first threshold. As the qualifications and conditions have been met, some of the information on Cast of the Black King, which had remained hidden and unknown, has been partially released. Please check the information window for details. The concept of death has been strengthened. The concept of death has been strengthened. The powers you possess have been strengthened. The gods of death's loyalty towards you have risen. The demons of death's loyalty towards you have risen. Your perceived presence by the Black King has grown stronger. The Black King is starting to exhibit a small interest in this dream. He offers you a present. Yian-Wu felt conflicted about the Black King's interest in him and his attempt to empower Yian-Wu with a gift. Although Yian-Wu was happy about gaining greater strength, he was also nervous about getting too entangled with the Black King. Compared to the Black King, Yian-Wu was still just a speck of sand. Yian-Wu knew that everything he had built up would disappear completely if the Black King made up his mind to dismiss him. Having thought this far, Yian-Wu felt it might be beneficial to curry favor with the Black King given this opportunity. Yet, at the same time, this dream, after listening to the Black King's message, Yian-Wu fixated on that one phrase. He wondered what the dream meant. Among the many concepts that the Black King possessed, Yian-Wu possessed the concept of death while Harmonia possessed the concept of dream. But more precisely, Harmonia swam in the dream world of others and directly invaded their unconscious at will, which allowed her to raise her power over the emptiness. However, the Black King's words seemed to carry a slightly different meaning. This dream, does that mean there are other dreams? Time difference. Yian-Wu tried to quickly organize his judgment in his fast-paced stream of consciousness. He felt he had a clue. Which version of me are you? Yian-Wu took a glimpse into Kronos' past. As a child, Kronos, under Uranus's order, had visited the Black Swamp with his other brothers. It actually became an abandoned section once the universe was created. At the place that was said to devour everything, whether it be good or bad, Kronos met demonism. That was the question demonism posed at the time. Furthermore, how many times have I spun through the cycle? Well, no matter. I can just do it again until it works. Demonism had also uttered these other words. Although Kronos had questions regarding these words, he could not keep up with his thoughts for a long time because he constantly suffered while fending off demonism. And after barely recovering, Kronos had forgotten all these words as if they had never happened. This did not mean Kronos' memory was erased. Kronos, unconscious, judged these memories and words to be insignificant and buried them in the deepest recesses of his memory swamp. When Yin Wu reviewed Kronos' memories, he recalled this exchange and then asked Kronos if he knew anything about the Black King's words. Open hollow corner bracket no. I don't have a clue. As you already know, I was just an apostle of the Black King in name only. I didn't really know anything about him. Most of the time, I obtained my powers automatically through demonism. In the end, demonism knew all the details. Anyway, after bringing the tower down, I'll meet the Black King. I was thinking of going to the swamp someday as well. Then I guess I'll find out eventually. Rather, Yin Wu wondered what gift the Black King had in store for him. A message soon followed. The Black King has cut off one part of his left ring finger. Your gift from the Black King has arrived. Whoosh! A black marble landed on Yin Wu's palm. It was a beautifully sparkling marble that seemed to have been pulled out from the darkness, and it was finely sculpted. Darkness Jade. Type: immeasurable. Class: immeasurable. Description: a holy relic given by the Black King. Description unknown until user comprehends the usage of the item. The explanation was too simple. Seeing that the type and grade were judged as immeasurable, it was clear to Yin Wu that the tower's system considered the item so great that it struggled to grasp it. The quantity and quality of darkness contained within it was also different from any other object he had ever seen. Even Yin Wu, who had already reached a power level where most gods were beneath him, was reluctant to touch the Darkness Jade. The gods who were attacking the 77th floor sense the holy relic, Darkness Jade, and shudder in fear. Most of the gods look at Darkness Jade with astonishment on their faces. All demons are in great shock. Metatron, the leader of less than Malik greater than, is silent. Baal, leader of less than L'infernal greater than, is not providing a response. The heavenly world's reaction was no different. Even the gods who were busy dealing with Alpharon showed the same response. What was most shocking was, the Black King cut off part of his ring finger. Compared to the overall power of the Black King, the marble was only a very small portion of the Black King's power. Based on the circumstances and explanation, it was clear that the Darkness Jade was an item created and sent after the Black King cut off a piece of his finger. If a piece of the Black King's finger possessed so much power, Yin Wu could not imagine how powerful the Black King's true body would be. Moreover, the biggest problem for Yin Wu was that it was impossible to guess the Darkness Jade's usage. If Yin Wu could not figure out its purpose, it would inevitably become an unusable and unnecessary item. Essentially, it would be useless. I think I'm being teased. Yin Wu wondered whether the Black King may have presented him with the gift to watch his reaction or to test him, as the Black King probably knew that Yin Wu would be terrified over the gift. Fortunately, Yin Wu's doubts did not last long. Open hollow corner bracket this. Kronos' reaction was unusual. Father, do you know what this is? Open hollow corner bracket of course, I know. How can I not? Kronos said as he took a deep breath. It's Scythe's main core. Quote exclamation mark quote. Yin Wu widened his eyes as he looked at the jet black jade. He knew that Scythe was the divine weapon that Kronos had wielded during his days as the king of gods. Kronos had recommended Scythe to Yin Wu as the only weapon that could cut through Alpharon's light. Thus, Yin Wu had been planning to make Scythe someday. And now that the Alpharon raid started, along with the Yin sword, Yin Wu needed Scythe. However, most of the adamantine, which was the most important material to make Scythe, was monopolized by the Sea of Time. Thus, Yin Wu had paused on making Scythe. Originally, Yin Wu was planning to enter Alpharon's world of light, save Count Ferenc, and then focus on making Scythe. It could be said that Yin Wu's plans were too idealistic in a situation where he did not have any spare time. However, Yin Wu could not help but delay his decision to make Scythe because of the drastically changing conditions that he currently faced, such as the Sea of Time's unusual movements, Malik and L'Infernal's independent movements, and the Creator God fiasco. Still, even during this urgent time, Yin Wu was not too concerned about making Scythe because he had already had a plan in mind. As long as they had the same goal, the Sea of Time would have no reason to continue monopolizing adamantine. However, Yin Wu could not help but be surprised to receive a Scythe-related material from the Black King out of the blue. Open hollow corner bracket of course, adamantine isn't the only material needed to make Scythe. To change the nature of the materials, other ingredients are needed, but I don't think you need to concern yourself with those other ingredients since Popo and Pepe said they'd get you them. But you've never mentioned the Darkness Jade to me before, right? Open hollow corner bracket that's because you had Vigrid. Although its quality has gone down, Vigrid itself is made of Darkness Jade, so it wouldn't have been very difficult to make Scythe with it. Simply put, if I proceeded as you described, I would have created a second-rate scythe, right? Open hollow corner bracket. Since you've strengthened the spring of death, I thought the gap could easily be filled. But close hollow corner bracket. Kronos muttered in an exasperated voice. I never expected you'd receive such a darkness jade. In the past, Kronos had gone through countless quests to get his darkness jade, so he shook his head as he recalled his past days of hardship and Yin Wu's tremendous luck. And yet, Kronos could not help but feel his soul tremble at the sudden development. Son, it seems the Black King knows everything that you're thinking, no? Yin Wu nodded heavily, since making scythe was a secret that he had not told anyone about. Even though the Black King had fallen into a deep slumber and lost awareness, the Black King seemed to know everything about Yin Wu. It would have been weird if Yin Wu did not feel a sense of fear. Open hollow corner bracket. Is he testing you to see if you're worthy of being his successor? Yin Wu nodded once more. Meanwhile, the darkness jade in his hand was still emitting a terrifying aura. He's probably also using me as a proxy to do his bidding. Considering that it was the heavenly demon that threw the Black King into the emptiness, and considering that Alpharon was the son of the heavenly demon, it was a natural reaction for Black King to assist Yin Wu. The Black King had no other choice but to hope that Yin Wu and Harmonia, his successors, succeeded in raiding Alpharon. Only then could the Black King get back at the heavenly demon, and only then could the Black King consider how he could wake up from his slumber. Thus, it seemed that these reasons were why the Black King was lending his power to Yin Wu. Perhaps the Black King offered a similar level of support for his other successor, Harmonia. I feel used. Not only did Yin Wu feel that his plans had been fully exposed, but he also felt sick that he was being taken advantage of. This offering went beyond the level of support from the Black King. It was at the level of being harassed. The oppression one felt when a being boasted overwhelming power over another was simply annoying. Still, Yin Wu decided that he needed to do the Black King's bidding. Once he made his decision, the previously slowed world returned to a normal flow of time. SS's. Yin Wu could see the prisoners, who had all turned into his followers, leap into the air. They were able to raise their morale and fighting spirit through the darkness, blessing, and they demonstrated a powerful force as if releasing all the years of resentment that they had been suppressing until now. Count Ferenc and the vampiric lord stood at the forefront and quickly parried the light beams pouring out at them from all directions. Laplace was joyously making a big fuss. Open hollow corner bracket. Ferenc, buy some more time. Athena and Olympus will be assisting us from outside the stage, so make sure you coordinate and cooperate with them as well. Open hollow corner bracket. I shall follow your orders. Count Ferenc did not ask questions. He only showed blind faith and loyalty. For followers like him, this battle was a struggle against oppression and a holy war for the god who gave them new opportunities and a lease on life. Athena, Yin Wu's chief apostle, was carrying out a separate plan, so Ferenc and the others had to lead the battle accordingly. Olympus, ghost giants, dragons of death, Arthea, Yin Wu's followers from his holy territories. In addition to all these beings, there were also Yin Wu's familiars. Under the banner of marching to one's death, everyone was doing their part. On the 77th floor, where everything had been covered in light, darkness slowly started to spread out. Thus, everything has been set, as Yin Wu desired. Various pieces had been set onto the chessboard, from those in the heavenly world and central bureau to the members of the Sea of Time. And now, all that was left was to eliminate the king, and to do that, Yin Wu needed a final paving stone. Scythe. Yin Wu closed his eyes. He went deep into his consciousness. The spring of death is fiercely spinning. The spring of time is slowly winding. The pocket watch around Yin Wu's neck started to slow down for the first time. Then, the whole world flowed very quietly as if it had been paused. Open hollow corner bracket. I was wondering if you would come here. Seems you have. When Yin Wu reopened his eyes, he was in the abyss, the deepest place in his unconscious illusory world. From time immemorial to the present day, Harmonia still stood as gatekeeper in front of the huge, archetype gate where the knowledge and thoughts possessed by countless living beings and souls were united. Previously, Yin Wu had to swim countless hours to get to this place, but this time around, he was able to get to the gate easily because he had already been at the gate before. He momentarily looked at the gate behind Harmonia with curiosity, but he soon lost interest and looked at Harmonia. Putting aside all the pleasantries, let me get straight to the point. I need scythe. How much adamant do you have? Chapter 652 Scythe 2. The spring of time is wound very slowly. The divine ability is active. It is an unstable ability. The longer the spring is activated, the more severe the damage may be. Please be advised that the spring may be permanently damaged. While the spring is activated, the small wheel surrounding the tower slowly spins. The beings within the influence of the small wheel do not recognize it. The weight being applied to the spring of time from the small wheel becomes heavier. The spring of time is overheated. The Black King shows great interest in your actions. Along with death, the spring of time was what allowed Kronos to sit on the throne of the King of Gods in the past. With this, Kronos moved through the universe as he wished and led Olympus to its golden age. Depending on how it was used, it could be used as an omniscient tool that allowed the user to peek at the future and the past, or it could also be used to spin the wheel. But of course, spinning the wheel was something only emperor-level beings could do. It was because records of actions and desires that became laws of causality could be forcefully erased according to selfish desires. Even Kronos didn't attempt it often. There were also critical side effects that arose from it. However, that only applied to the big wheel that included the universe's entire history. The small wheel, which was a lot smaller, was vastly different. And if there were only a few parts you wanted to change, the cost would heavily be deflated. It was why Kronos used the spring of time very frequently during his prime. By slowing or speeding the wheel, Kronos could have the advantages in time, and occasionally, by pausing time, he collected deaths. Controlling time and space as you wished, there was no more omniscient power than this. Yi and Wu wanted to imitate Kronos' method. It was impossible to pause time since the spring of time wasn't completely restored, and there were limits to slowing the small wheel down. If it was permanently damaged, Jung Woo's vestige could be injured. Open hollow corner bracket. Don't worry. I was eating away at the resources so I can earn my keep through this now. Cha Jung Woo pounded his chest as if to leave it to him. Open hollow corner bracket. While I was in the pocket watch, I practiced and studied how to wind the spring. Even you can't do better than me at this. So hurry on and come back quickly. Darkness can make up for what you don't have. And we have father too. Once the pocket watch and chains were connected to each other, the energy of darkness entered the spring. It was replenishing the power to spin the small wheel. Open hollow corner bracket. I'll hold on however I can, but hurry up. No one knows how Alpharaon might try to stop the spring of time if he catches on. So Yi and Wu entered the abyss after leaving things to his brother and father to finish side while they brought him time. Every second was precious. Open hollow corner bracket. Completing the weapon you need while slowing the small wheel down. It's definitely something you would think of. Just like before, Harmonia was huge. It was hard to believe she was the Summer Queen's twin because of how large she was. The color of her scales was dark and shining like obsidian. It was abnormal considering how the Summer Queen was a red dragon with fire properties. It was possible Harmonia's foundational properties had changed after becoming the successor of the Black King and creating the Sea of Time, since Yi and Wu had also become closer with darkness after resetting his soul. I don't have that much time. Just answer what I say. How much adamant do you have? It wasn't an exaggeration to say the entire 77th stage was Alpharaon itself. Alpharaon was being shaken as the heavenly world and lower world attacked him from all directions. However, as long as Alpharaon was the system's incarnation, there was no way to defeat him if the fight went prolonged. Yi and Wu needed to finish his weapon before that. He didn't have any intention to waste time cracking jokes with Harmonia. Open hollow corner bracket. I think it'd be best to talk face to face. SSSS's. Uncomfortable that she was looking down at Yi and Wu, Harmonia polymorphed into the form of a small girl. If she was holding a big teddy bear, it wouldn't have looked strange at all. Yi and Wu subconsciously grimaced. Technically you're Sesh's grandmother. Aren't you embarrassed to look like that? Everyone has different tastes. And wouldn't my granddaughter like this appearance? Since we can be on the same ground as we play together. A grandmother who's like a friend, isn't that nice? Yi and Wu clicked his tongue. He wanted to point out and ask many things, but this wasn't the time to be concerned with such matters. As promised, they had a temporary common front and it wouldn't be broken until Alpharaon's raid was over. And Yi and Wu had no plans to break their alliance either. He would have thought about it if he could get something out of stabbing her in the back, but only chaos would ensue if he did now. I heard the Sea of Time took all the adamant in the tower and outside. It's true, we have a monopoly on it. Can you give me some? Don't you know the act of cornering the market? It'll be quite expensive. I'll give you as much as you want. I heard you're in close relations with the leader of by the time. I suppose it was true. Yi and Wu didn't respond and narrowed his eyes. The relationship between Kronos and Frisia wasn't revealed to the public. How did she find out? Did it leak from the inside? But Yi and Wu hadn't told anyone about it, so it was even scarier. The information could have been leaked from by the table, but considering how thorough their control on information was, it was still scary. Harmonia could learn all his plans for the future. Harmonia faintly smiled, as if she could read Yi and Wu's mind. I said so in the past. We exist everywhere and nowhere. But I don't know more than that. Since there are limits to this place. Could he trust her or not? How much could he trust her? How far did her lies go? Unfortunately, we have barely managed to collect what we have because we have use for it as well. We can't just give it to you. Yi and Wu's eyes flashed. They couldn't just give it to him. It meant she wasn't refusing his offer. She was willing to give it to him if he could meet her conditions. What do you want? A smile spread on Harmonia's mouth. Your goodwill. What? It was unexpected. Just then. Ding. A party has been created. The scenario quest Black King's Ambition I has been created. Scenario quest Black King's Ambition I. Description. The Black King was critically injured by the heavenly demon and trapped in the deepest areas of emptiness by the traitor. But he has finally succeeded in choosing 2 successors after a long wait. The Black King planned on having his 2 successors compete and wait for the day he would awaken, but upon learning the blood relative of the one who injured him, the heavenly demon, existed in the tower, he changed his mind. He wishes for the successors of his power to eliminate the heavenly demon's blood relative and to see the heavenly demon in pain and despair. From now, accept the Black King's will and eliminate the heavenly demon's blood relative. If you bring him great victory, the Black King will reward you based on his satisfaction. Conditions for success. 1. Work with the other successor. Internal strife is not allowed while the quest is in progress. The Black King will be angered at any infighting. 2. Awake more of the power of darkness. 3. Eliminate the heavenly demon's blood relative and bring him a victory that he will be satisfied with. The greater the victory, the greater his satisfaction. Warning. This is a party quest. The rewards will differ based on your contribution. Qualifications. Successor of the Black King. Time limit. Rewards. 1. 2. A scenario quest was created. This meant the Black King was further interested after beginning to sense the situation. Harmonia didn't seem to care about the quest window, although she must have received the message. I already know you don't follow him genuinely and have blasphemous thoughts toward him. However, his prophecy must be realized. And you will be standing next to the throne he will sit in. I'm saying we have no choice but to work together. Harmonia continued to speak. But it'll be difficult if you continue to not have any trust in me. So I wish to have your goodwill. How about it? I believe it isn't a bad offer for you. Yi and Wu was flabbergasted. When they first met in the abyss, she had said something strange about how it wasn't time and sent him flying away. And how was she able to say such brazen words after deceiving Sesha, Ananta, and Brahm? He had no intentions of having goodwill toward Harmonia because he wanted to stay on guard against the Black King and didn't know what Harmonia's true desires were. But that didn't mean he'd refuse someone's goodwill toward him. It wouldn't be late to think about the Black King then. Fine, let's do that. We've become a step closer to each other now. I'll give you as much adamant as you wish. The player, Harmonia, has given you X adamant. It is automatically bound to your subspace. Then can I make a few more requests? Do you still need something? A lot. As expected, you're very shameless. There's no reason to deny your goodwill. And the Black King told us to work together. Now that he had the Darkness Jade, the newly created scythe would have incomparably powerful functions compared to before. The more brilliant the materials that went into it were, scythe would be even better. Fortunately, the Sea of Time had also been secretly collecting what Yi and Wu requested. How do you know of these things? For the first time, the relaxed Harmonia seemed taken aback. I'm also a blacksmith with the title of Master Blacksmith. Yi and Wu decided to be more shameless since he was already here anyway. I've gotten most materials through by the table anyway, but the more the better. Is that it? Roughly. You're amazing. In more ways than one. Thank you. Ha! Yi and Wu put Harmonia's bitter sigh behind him and walked out. But before he left, he glanced at the iron door that was behind Harmonia. It was where the Black King might be. He didn't sense anything beyond the door. Oh well, then the materials I need next are. Yi and Wu rubbed the cold cast of the Black King as he reviewed the remaining materials he needed. Oh, the information was updated, right. Check information window. Ding! A screen popped up in front of Yi and Wu. Chapter 653 Side 3. A majority of the information regarding the artifact has been changed. The artifact has significantly changed according to the newly edited information. Please read the description for more information. Regarding how common it was for the descriptions of artifacts to change, the descriptions didn't usually change unless the artifact was strengthened or the user went through additional training. It was rare for the description to change, because the information was firmly embedded in the system. Yi and Wu couldn't help but be surprised as a result of this modification, because he hadn't really done anything out of the ordinary to the cast of the Black King. It seemed it had changed because the Black King had sensed him, but Yi and Wu had no idea what the newly edited information would be. Just how much of it changed? Yi and Wu quickly scanned through the information window. Cast of the Black King. Category. Set. Rank. Unmeasurable. Description. The open angle bracket Great Father close angle bracket, the king and god of the supernatural beings who ruled over the civilizations and planets in all universes since the beginning of time, came to a realization one day. I am asleep. The Great Father continued to think, there are beings who put me to sleep. The Great Father trembled in fury from the who betrayed him, and he began to resent the heavenly demon for putting him in this pathetic state. Despair, grief, and fury are the emotions that now move the Great Father, who is preparing to awaken. The casts that he sent to his successors are all holy artifacts that symbolize him, the manacles his soul, the fetters his death, and the pillory his darkness. Soul Dominator. All souls that the user killed or died as a result of the user will be branded. The branded souls will be recognized as the user's possessions, and the user has authority over them. The souls cannot be free until the brand disappears, and even if the souls go through reincarnation, the user's influence will remain. Depending on the proficiency of the user, the amount of branded souls the user can possess will increase. At times, the user will be able to restore some of the souls' strength from when they were alive and give them free will. Blackening. An enhanced form of black hexagram. The bound souls can be used to transform magic power into properties of darkness. Darkness is a more fundamental property than blackness, and this was only able to be seen before the beginning of time. The user's affinity with the properties will increase with the number of souls the user uses. The magic power that is transformed during this time will buff allies and plant fear and horror into enemies. Then, a randomly chosen curse will enforce a great tragedy upon the enemies. Void operation. A part of the void that belongs to the world's backend can be summoned to the current world. However, this emptiness that is filled with disorder and chaos can swallow its user, so the user must use it with care. This is a unique artifact. No other artifact like this exists in the tower, and it will be bound to its owner. It cannot be transferred or traded between players. Some of the abilities are sealed. You must meet the qualifications or conditions in order to lift the seals. Some information cannot be accessed. You must meet the qualifications or conditions in order to view the information. Currently collected. 3 of 3. Despair. You can dominate souls that are in despair. Grief. You can defy deaths filled with grief. Fury. You can control darkness shaken by fury. Currently connected artifacts. 2 of 2. Pocket watch. Connects to the spring of time that belonged to Kronos, an old apostle. Moves the small wheel. Vigrid. Connects to the spring of death that belonged to Kronos, an old apostle. Strengthens influence over the concept of death. Everything has changed to first person to the Black King's viewpoint. Aside from the significantly different information, the descriptions that had all been in third person were now directly stating the Great Father's emotions. Yi and Wu continued to think, that's what the otherworld gods called the Black King. Yi and Wu then wondered if the who betrayed the Black King were the otherworld gods, but that didn't make sense. I still don't know why the gods and demons of death reject the otherworld gods, who are also followers of the Black King. With the birth of the heavenly demon, the world was divided into order and disorder, as well as balance and chaos. Yi and Wu assumed there had been a division among the Black King's followers during this time as well, but it was only an assumption. He wasn't certain of anything. It was why he didn't think the were the otherworld gods or the gods and demons of death. It could be a third party who wasn't revealed yet, or some conceptual gods and elder gods who hadn't shown themselves. Yi and Wu was only certain that, if the Black King awoke and the world met its end, all these beings would be affected by it. From what Yi and Wu had seen until now, the Black King wasn't someone to forget about a grudge. Although he was made up of only a concept, at his center was a blazing heap of emotions, just like the names of the 3 castes. This is probably evidence that the Black King is finally waking from his deep slumber and having consciousness. Yi and Wu thought about how the information about the castes was enhanced, and how other things were omitted or combined. For example, the disappeared first spirit and summon of the soul options had likely been combined into the soul dominator option. Aside from that, the rank, which had been marked with question marks before, was now shown as unmeasurable. The quality of the souls he could take was now different as well. Before, he had to use a large number of souls to promote them to a spirit status, but there was no need to do that anymore. I don't know what the Sea of Time did, but it's now guaranteed that the Black King is slowly opening his eyes. After Alpharon was killed and the tower was crushed, Yi and Wu knew that the Black King would fully awaken. With those thoughts in mind, Yi and Wu arrived at the next location. You have arrived at the Fountain of Resentment. Adamant has arrived from player ###. It's really here. Smoke from Anastasia's pipe floated up in the air within a dark world. The child servants she always moved with were absent. Upon seeing the message pop up in front of her, she widened her eyes. With a brilliant glare of light, Adamant appeared on the floor in front of her. There was so much of it that it was stacked taller than her. Anastasia knew how precious adamant was and handled it carefully, so she was quite surprised by the amount. Adamant was a mineral that was rare throughout the entire universe, so she wasn't sure if even by the table could obtain this much. She laughed in disbelief. The time she had spent the last hundreds of years sweating and searching to create adamantine nova felt futile, and she thought how such an act was fitting of Kronos' son. She knew Kronos' abilities well, having lived as Ray's servant in Olympus, so in a way, it was only natural. Kronos' blood didn't go anywhere. And she had once suffered from Yi and Wu too. But, Anastasia frowned. When are these messages going to stop? Black ore has arrived. Alur Moscovium has arrived. Platinum Dite has arrived. Valeria Steel has arrived. Anastasia wondered just where Yi and Wu had found all these minerals. The minerals that followed after adamant were all some of the rarest materials, and they were all of the highest quality. She truly thought that he had raided some storehouse or something. I shouldn't think too deeply about it. The more Anastasia thought about it, the greater her headache would become. She'd get nothing out of it anyway, so she decided to set her curiosities aside. Who did he threaten this time to get this much? Heneva, who was sitting opposite of Anastasia, looked astounded. However, he didn't say much and just stood up with his hammer. Before Yi and Wu began his subjugation of the 77th floor, he'd contacted Anastasia and Heneva to prepare things for the creation of Scythe. Heneva didn't seem pleased that Yi and Wu had been impossible to contact for 2 years, and the first thing he did after showing up was give him orders, but he grumbled and heeded Yi and Wu's request. His eyes were blazing with passion. Helping Yi and Wu and Cha Jung-woo was one thing, but he was happy that he could challenge himself again after making Kaini and the Philosopher's Stone. Scythe, I never imagined I'd be able to create the very weapon that the King of the Gods used before the tower was built. Just then, a muscled man who was sitting next to Heneva gasped in excitement and clenched his fists. He was Moff, another one of the 4 great blacksmiths who had the title of Master Blacksmith. He rarely showed himself, but after hearing the news from Heneva, he had frantically come over. He seemed overjoyed that he'd be able to create a holy artifact with his own hands. Master, what should I do? Victoria stiffly looked at Anastasia. The most important thing that came down to making Scythe was how much good adamantine nova they could make. She was beyond nervous, and the 3 Cyclops brothers next to her also nodded. All the master blacksmiths excluding Brahm and Yi and Wu and the greatest blacksmiths of the heavenly world were gathered here. Anastasia, who was appointed leader, began to speak. As I said before, Scythe isn't an item that can be created simply by smelting. It's like a machine that can only be made with the accurate assembly of each mineral and material. No one has any room for mistakes. Anastasia was the only one who had seen Scythe being created, so she repeatedly urged them to be careful. Most thought Scythe was a holy artifact that symbolized the King of Gods, Kronos, but that was only part of the truth. To be more precise, Scythe was like a creature, which far exceeded that. It was a gift the gods of Olympus had personally created to sing the praises of the King of Gods and express their absolute loyalty. All the holy artifacts and treasures Olympus had secured were gathered as one, connected to amplify each other's effects. It was finally completed after condensing all the items multiple times, becoming the greatest tool with the most holy power any weapon ever had. Although Scythe didn't have any ego, its divinity was already that of a greater god. Thus, Zeus and his brothers had been afraid of Scythe and had scattered its broken parts throughout the universe after it didn't accept its new owner. Since the blacksmiths were now trying to create a weapon that exceeded Scythe, they couldn't help but feel nervous. At the same time, they were excited to be the creators of such a brilliant achievement. Then let us begin. With Anastasia's shout, everyone moved to their positions and began their jobs. Each of their parts would become holy artifacts with Yianwu's holiness, and it would be centered around Vigrid to finally create Scythe. If there was any problem on their part, the creation of Scythe would be done for. It was unacceptable to their honor and pride. Whoosh! Yianwu's holy territory, where the blacksmiths were located, blazed with even more heat than ever. Chapter 654 Scythe 4. Open hollow corner bracket. Damn it. Open hollow corner bracket. This guy doesn't know what enough is. When will this stop? Open hollow corner bracket. This isn't any different from the subjugation of the heavenly world. Countless divine beings released their powers in the glaringly white 77th floor. Lightning rained down and storms of ice spun rapidly. Holy power flurried so intensely that it was like the foretold end of the world was coming now. Even on the 98th floor, where the heavenly world was, a battle like this wouldn't occur. If it did, all the societies and the stage would have been destroyed. However, the divine beings relentlessly attacked with their full power, not minding whether or not the 77th floor would be destroyed. But of course, if the 77th floor was one to be destroyed so easily, it would have been cleared a lot earlier. The world of light quickly restored itself no matter the damage that it sustained, and it continued to counterattack. Rays of light clustered and flashed endlessly. Dragons of light flew at the divine beings and tried to bite at their arms and legs. They shot magic and released various powers. The debuffs and curses continued to prevent the divine beings from moving. Still, the divine beings forced themselves to move. The god, Chandra, has gained 130 contribution points. The god, Montu, has gained 210 contribution points. The god, Dun Cow, has gained 152 contribution points. The current highest contribution points is 25,500, and the record holder is Saul. It is advised you work harder. As the scores continued to pop up in front of them, the divine beings continued to feel motivated by the system set up by the Central Bureau. They already burned with the desire and greed to climb higher on the hierarchy, so they couldn't help but feel excited as they saw their efforts put into numbers. The quest was being given to all societies and ranks without bias. The honor of an individual gained here would have a strong influence on the other divine beings, and this would become faith. It was the prime opportunity to increase one's level. Whenever there was a large-scale war, there would always be a hero or two who arose from the less spotlighted beings. They could even become like Zeus and his brothers who brought down Kronos and sat on the throne of Olympus. Everyone was blazing with passion, but it didn't bring only positive results. Pow! Open hollow corner bracket. How could you? Saul, who was focusing on her attacks so she could continue to have the highest score, spurted out blood with a sudden pain from her back. Right behind her was Dodgebog, her comrade and lover, standing with a twisted smile. He had stabbed her in the back while she was busy fighting. I told you that you shouldn't leave your back open to others, didn't I? Open hollow corner bracket. But open hollow corner bracket. I will not forget your sacrifice. Swish, flock. Saul has died in battle. Saul's contribution points are given to Dodgebog. In blind spots, betrayals were occurring everywhere. It was difficult to subjugate Alpharon, but it was very easy to steal contribution points from a comrade who only focused on the battle. If a lower divine being suddenly started doing well, the threatened higher divine beings gathered and worked together to eliminate him. Just as Yianwu expected, the jealous, prideful, and hierarchical divine beings couldn't accept the fact that someone else was standing above them. Open hollow corner bracket. Haha. What a shitshow. Demons like Niflheim and the East Demon Army scoffed. However, it didn't end there. Splash. Saul's corpse powerlessly fell to the ground and into the shadows waiting at the bottom of the stage. It made a splashing noise, then gentle ripples of darkness appeared along the shadow. The power, shadow domain, is slowly invading the stage. Current invasion rate, 17.2%. The power, Hades, spirit-eating sword, whines saying this isn't enough. Digestion rate of, Nivadba, 72.7%. Digestion rate of, Arashi, 68.4%. Digestion rate of, Saul, 26.1%. The fruit of good and evil is being created in the shadow domain. While the divine beings were busy stabbing each other in the back, the properties of darkness were added to Yi and Wu's shadow and it covertly began to spread to the rest of the stage. It was to weaken Alpharone's power on the stage and swallow dead gods like Saul. Open hollow corner bracket goodness. There's no one more demonic than you when it comes to such things. Agaris giggled at Yi and Wu's opportunistic actions. As expected. I love your temper. It's so cute that I wanna die. Ha. Open hollow corner bracket enough. Woof woof. Hell, Jormungandr and Fenrir were busy exclaiming or sighing at Yi and Wu's scheme. The leader of Malak, Metatron, looks down at the 77th floor with a satisfied face. The head of Infernal, Baal, nods, saying the evil acts throughout the floor are as sweet as strawberry cake. Agaris smirked as he saw the messages. You say all that stuff about absolute good and absolute evil, but you're not too different from the rest of us, huh? The leader of Malak, Metatron, says the heavenly world is filled with too many beings for its size. The leader of Malak, Metatron, says, purification is necessary to protect the order of the heavenly world. Ha. Agaris burst out laughing because he knew Metatron wasn't excusing himself, but he was being genuine. Metatron sought only good. There was no individual judgment or personal desire that went into it. He was filled with the ideology to seek only pure good and didn't care about the sacrifices. He wouldn't blink an eye no matter how many gods died or how many angels from Malak lost their wings. He was even ready to sacrifice himself if needed. Using his life as a tool to fulfill his mission. I think I've seen this before. Agaris thought it was only natural for these things to happen because the leader of the absolute good was like that. The world was going crazy. But it's only good for me. Ha. Agaris laughed maniacally. The hostility and enmity filled the floors and continued to give him goosebumps. His own divine power swallowed all these emotions and helped him grow stronger. Demonic energy spun around him. Vimalasitra becomes excited at the energy whirling in the floor. Cernunnos looks at the seventh floor with silent eyes. He hopes his apostle remains safe. Vimalasitra is enlivened at this large-scale event that could only happen once in 1,000 years. Vimalasitra loosens his lotus position and stands. Vimalasitra expresses his will to participate. Many demons watching Vimalasitra are shaken. The demonic society, Jia sect, becomes nervous at the appearance of the being who was once their leader. The demonic society, Artishat, looks toward Vimalasitra with fear-stricken eyes. Many gods become wary of Vimalasitra. A few gods quietly hide their presence from Vimalasitra. Vimalasitra scoffs and ignores all the gazes watching him. Vimalasitra attempts to descend. A distortion field has been created on the 77th floor, the Gate of Light. Please be advised of the shock. Brr, crash. Thunder thrashed and lightning rained down on the clamorous battlefield. However, Brahm ignored all of it and was busily scanning the Book of Pluto. Flash. Harmonia, there's a lot we need to talk about. If not now, we won't be able to speak again. Brahm was attempting to find where Harmonia was. Although he knew the divine beings were releasing their powers to gain contribution points and the supreme gods were fighting to take the position of the throne of the only god, he didn't care. He knew that Yi and Wu had just approached the abyss to meet Harmonia. However, it was only their consciousness that had met. Brahm wanted to look her real body eye to eye and converse. Harmonia probably knew Brahm was chasing after her, but there was likely a reason why she wasn't meeting him. Either she was hiding something, or she didn't want to see him. If not that, she forgot about all of us, Brahm thought. Technically, his relationship with Harmonia at the beginning had only been for fun. He enjoyed learning knowledge that was no longer in this world, and Harmonia wanted material for research. Offspring between a god and a dragon was an experiment that had never taken place in the long history of the universe, so they couldn't help but feel curious. So, Ananta was born between them as the result of that experiment. The reason why Brahm had left without any attachments was that he had already obtained all the data he needed. But after time passed and he came to several realizations, he found Ananta and took care of Sesha, whom Ananta left behind. He then met Cha Jung-woo and Yi and Wu to eventually get to where he was now. There was just one thing Brahm wanted to ask Harmonia. What were we to you? If she said they were just a part of her past, he'd be satisfied and leave it at that. He had no intention of trying to hold her back or persuade her. At first, he was curious why she faked her death, but now he thought she must have had her personal reasons for it. All he currently wanted was to know what her thoughts were. The accurate location of the player, Harmonia, is being calculated. The scan of the 77th floor is complete. Result, none. The scan of the 76th floor is complete. Result, none. The scan of the 75th floor. The scan of the 4th floor is complete. Result, present. The 4th floor. As soon as Harmonia's location was found, Brahm opened a portal for the coordinates. For all he knew, he was walking into a tiger's den, but he knew that there wouldn't be much effect since he was no longer a part of Yin Wu's forces. With Cha Jungwoo and Ananta awake, Sesha wouldn't be lonely anymore either. It's a bit of a shame I couldn't say bye to Sesha, but -- will take care of it. Smiling at the thought that he was taking revenge on Yin Wu, who always left the subordinates to clean up after him, Brahm entered the portal. Crash! Suddenly, golden lightning fell behind Brahm and slashed his back. Lightning of heavens has destroyed the Book of Pluto. Keg. Zeus stood there with a cold smile. His jewel eye glinted with light. I made a mistake. Brahm hadn't seen the attack beforehand because he was too focused on searching all the floors with the Book of Pluto open. Where are you going? I don't think we're done talking. You didn't think I'd pleasantly accept the offer you guys made like an obedient dog, did you? Zeus quickly extended his right hand toward Brahm's head, and Brahm's vision blacked out. Chapter 655 Scythe 5. Brahm was still conscious. Before the Virtue Stone had released its full power, he had summoned the last of the destroyed Book of Pluto's magic power and exploded it. Sensed danger. Magic suitable for the current situation is being searched for. Wavering Fire God. The Book of Pluto was a collection of the entirety of Brahm's knowledge, including the knowledge of the otherworld, so the magic emitted was a lot more powerful than what Zeus expected. Unlike the weak connotation of the word, wavering, the magic Brahm created had the ferocity of continuous fiery storms that burned one to the soul. Large columns of fire that could crush several plants successively blazed towards Zeus. Realizing the situation was precarious, Zeus urgently put his hands together and established a thick shield around him. However, he had to continue creating shields as they kept on breaking down. Crash! When the seemingly endless firestorm finally settled down, Zeus spat out blood and released his black burnt shield. What a shame! I would have been able to swallow him if he was a bit closer. Zeus wet his lips with his red tongue. The portal that Brahm had opened was already closed, so he had successfully escaped. Even though it was regretful, Zeus wasn't worried. He felt Brahm's divinity being destroyed at his fingertips, so it didn't matter that Brahm had escaped. He won't be able to stop Gaia's curse, and I can always swallow him up after he loses all his strength. Dark lunacy glimmered from Zeus' jewel eye. The surviving consciousnesses of the supreme gods he had secretly devoured were shouting at him, but they would be quiet soon enough. Zeus turned his body in another direction. Now that he already chased Brahm away, who was one of the biggest obstacles alongside the Jade Emperor on his path to becoming the only god, it was time to swallow all the others. You have been afflicted with Gaia's curse. Warning, your legends are disappearing at a rapid pace. You need to be stabilized. It is advised you rest at a safe location. Warning, your divinity is beyond ruined at a rapid pace. You need to find the cause and quickly eliminate it. It is advised you rest at a safe location. Warning, your holiness. What a state, slightly similar to walking on the edge. -- will start nagging me if he finds out. Brahm barely forced himself to walk, clutching his wounded chest. His stumbling steps were slow, and cracked pieces fell from the right side of his chest. Just as it was to all the divine beings and the martial king, Gaia's curse was critical to Brahm. Because it hadn't been that long since his divinity was restored, his legends and divine powers weren't stable yet, which made this injury even more threatening. Putting aside his curiosity for how the Sea of Time could possess so many of Gaia's curses, Brahm deliberated about what to do next. He wondered if he should enter the shadows and rest, or return to the one-horned tribe since it could be his last and see Sesha and Ananta's face. Going to see Harmonia, after some contemplation, Brahm came to a decision. I should go. Brahm smiled wryly and didn't stop walking. Even if I can possibly guess her answer and she might not care about it as much as I do, it'll be different to hear it with my own ears. I should go and confirm it for myself. Brahm had complained about how stubborn Yin Wu was, but it occurred to him that he wasn't much different. But where is this? Brahm looked around the dark forest and narrowed his eyes. He knew the 4th floor was closely associated with the ocean since Poseidon's key was the hidden piece, but this place was far from it. Were the coordinates messed up when the lightning touched the portal? Brahm knew for certain this was the 4th floor, but he couldn't figure out exactly where on the floor he was. Even if he tried to open a new portal after setting the coordinates again, it would be difficult since the Book of Pluto had been destroyed and his remaining holy power was being used to block Gaia's curse. Brahm began to feel anxious. He didn't know how Gaia's curse would act up, and if he died without being able to meet Harmonia, there wouldn't be a more futile death than his. Just then, a man's familiar voice rang out, "Is the preparation for the end going well?" "Of course. Haven't you seen that the prophecy was able to be carried out smoothly thanks to your efforts?" And the voice that responded was Harmonia's, but Brahm wasn't able to walk toward them. His instinct told him he shouldn't step up now, so he hid beneath a large tree to listen to their conversation a bit more. It was dark, and the grass grew up to his waist, so he wouldn't be seen. He quieted his holy power and hid it as well. He is also preparing to awaken. This war can be said to be the prelude for his waking. Then that's a relief. But are you planning to hide it even with the end nearing us? Hide what? Your purpose? Haha, maybe. It was difficult to understand their conversation because Brahm had only listened from the middle. There were only a few words he knew. And, are they talking about the Black King? Seeing how Harmonia was discussing the Black King with another person, Brahm also guessed that the man was more of a comrade than a subordinate. He wondered who the man was, since the conversation was a private one. Just the two of them. Alone, Brahm felt something burst inside of him. It was a strange emotion, but he soon realized it was jealousy. To think I, who always stressed and prioritized logical thinking, would feel this kind of emotion. I suppose I really have changed. From a logical standpoint, Brahm needed to return to the shadows and heal himself. He could always create an opportunity like this in the future, but it would be hard to do so if he was dead. The fact that he had come here because of his emotional judgment was probably due to his personality changing during his time with Sesha and Ananta. Gaia's curse is spreading at a faster pace. Brahm grasped his holy power that began to shake again. I still don't understand why an important subordinate of the heavenly demon is trying to help him. I told you, I want to take the tower out of this dry spell. And if that's not possible, the man trailed off and continued, anyway, it's not bad for the Black King to wake up either, even though I don't believe in the prophecy you saw. It'll be quite different from the end I see. All right, as long as you don't betray us, I won't ask any further. Good, that was what the Sea of Time wanted anyway, wasn't it? A world where everyone is equal under the god they served, where everyone's worth is the same. Everything in this dream is nothing more than an illusion that will disappear. Is that why you planned on using him as the egg? Yes, I can never become it. Harmonia's voice sounded sadly bitter. Well, if you say so. I suppose you took a liking to him. I've only clashed with him once, but when I both observed him through my apostle and with my own eyes, he reminded me of someone from the past. The sound of the man lifting something from the ground in preparation to leave echoed in the darkness. Then I'll be off. As we planned, we need to make preparations for the egg to awaken on time. The man turned and headed deeper within the forest. The grass rustled under his feet, and the light coming through the trees illuminated his face before it disappeared. It was only for a short moment, but Brahm instantly recognized who he was. Huyi. During the time when he was Brahma, he remembered seeing the moon god who protected the heavenly demon's side. Huyi had been the second in power of the Chan sect, and the teacher of the Chan sect's current 3 leaders. He was also a member of the Trinity Wonder who had opened the tower. And Huyi and Harmonia had been having a mysterious conversation. Brahm knew Huyi had been involved with the Sea of Time, but he was surprised because he didn't expect to suddenly see him like this. The egg they had been discussing was most definitely Yi and Wu, based on their circumstances. In addition to their plans of creating an only god to replace Alpharon, it meant they were trying to use Yi and Wu to awaken the Black King. Could it be? Then, a thought occurred to Brahm. He tensed and straightened his back. If his hypothesis was correct, it would be very bad. I have to let others know. Just as he started to feel more urgency, Gaia's curse shook his divinity. You have failed to control your holy power as a result of losing your focus. Gaia's curse shakes your divinity. Brahm quickly attempted to rein it back, but it was only after some of his holy power already leaked out. Huyi turned toward Brahm's direction, having sensed something. Brahm held his breath. Step, step. He heard Huyi approaching him as if trying to find something. The grass quivered. What is it? Just now, never mind. It's nothing. Huyi glanced around the grass and shook his head at Harmonia's voice. However, the suspicion didn't leave his eyes as he left. When Hu Yi was gone, Harmonia smiled and spoke in the direction he had just been in. Why don't you come out now, Brahm? The grass rustled, and Brahm appeared from behind the tree. It could have been because of the darkness or Gaia's curse, but his dark face was stiffer than ever. You knew. From the beginning. And you still left me alone. Do you know I'm the one who hid your presence? Why? Since you're the father of my daughter and the grandfather of my granddaughter. Quote. Harmonia spoke as if it was obvious, and Brahm became speechless. Then, he squeezed out his voice. Gaia's curse was not completely out of his control and was up to his chin. His hands and feet were about to scatter as dust into the air. If that's what you thought, why did you avoid me? No, why did you leave Ananta? Brahm could somewhat understand why Harmonia had left him, but if she thought of Ananta as her daughter and not as the result of an experiment, she couldn't have left like that. But Harmonia was still composed, saying, I never lied. What? I really died. What? But I woke up again. Brahm understood Harmonia only partially, so Harmonia explained, after being born again, all my connections to my past life were cut off, and there was only one thing that upheld my identity, that I was the successor to carry out his will. Quote. This time, I'll ask a question. Quote. Did you hear? Brahm was so shocked that he couldn't reply, and Harmonia let out a deep sigh. You did. Brahm stiffened and tried to muster the last of his holy power when suddenly, light penetrated Brahm from above. Ah, it was something that Harmonia hadn't expected, so she widened her eyes. For a short while, Brahm looked at Harmonia with bitter and sad eyes, then scattered into dust. SSSS's. Harmonia frantically turned in the direction the light had come from. She saw Hu Yi standing on a branch with his bow pointed toward them. So he was here. You. For the first time, rage appeared on Harmonia's face. Swish. An intense aura spun around her. So you do know how to make that kind of expression. I thought you were a marionette without any emotions. Hu Yi just returned his bow on his back and turned around as if his job was done. Now alone, Harmonia's gaze wavered. Chapter 656 Scythe 6. Vimalasitra descends. All gods gasped upon seeing the message pop up on the 77th floor. All gods are confused. All demons are nervous that they might get on Vimalasitra's bad side. The demons were speechless. Vimalasitra was like the Asura king from the demonic societies, rivaling the king of gods in the godly societies long before the tower had been created. Although there were legends that he had been defeated in a fight with one of Deva's strongest supreme gods, Indra, but at the time, he had only lost due to numbers, not individual strength. Furthermore, Vimalasitra had repeatedly pushed Indra near destruction, so when determining who was most threatening, no god in Deva could equal him. Recently, he had even stepped out of Jia sect and was roaming the world alone. Now that the message of his reappearance in the world again popped up, many swallowed nervously. It's been a while since I've breathed this air. An old man who had a sword taller than himself slowly opened his abnormal eyes, which flashed. Is this the tower's lower world? Do. The old man had only opened his mouth to speak, but the stage trembled. I like how fresh the air is. It's too musty up there now, so it's boring. Contrary to his statement, the current atmosphere of the 77th floor was far from fresh. The more intense the gods' attacks, the more magic power Alpharon released onto the stage. Space twisted and turned while the natural laws were crushed, leaving a ruined atmosphere. It was hot and displeasing, heavy and uncomfortable. All the rankers that had followed Yi and Wu into the 77th floor were feeling nauseated. They froze up, wondering what they were doing and where they were at. It was a battlefield where even the gods were having difficulty. But Vimalasitra described it as fresh. Although the Asura race had been combined with the Jia sect because they were small in number, they were a group that was born to fight. And since Vimalasitra was the king of such a race and was praised as the king of kings, battlefields were like a safe haven for him. Peace came to the heavenly world after Malik and L'Infernal made a pact and Lucifer's wings were clipped. No one messed up the order of the heavenly world any longer. Thus, these past years had been extremely boring and exhausting for Vimalasitra. However, this age of confusion centered around Yi and Wu made him feel alive again, and his frozen heart began to melt. Now, it had finally melted him into action. The raid of Alpharon, it was the greatest battlefield to be made after the gods and demons were trapped in the heavenly world. However, Vimalasitra wasn't interested in Alpharon or creator gods made anew. He wanted Yi and Wu. He needed to find the one who had called him here. His attention was focused entirely on the new king of gods. Many gods are astonished at the scale of divinity being exuded from Vimalasitra. A few gods stand tensely at Vimalasitra's appearance. And the way all these fools blabber on is the same as ever. Humph. Vimalasitra stopped breathing in the heated atmosphere of the battlefield and smiled twistedly. His tone was grave and scholarly, with a hint of certain arrogance. Even though he tried to ignore it, Vimalasitra felt countless gazes focused on him as soon as he descended. They were full of fear, wariness, horror, confusion, admiration, and many other emotions. He scoffed. It would be best for you to look away before I pull those eyes out. I'm not interested in you idiots that are blinded by reputation and believe in strength in numbers. Many gods frantically look away. A few gods feel insulted at Vimalasitra's mockery. Very few gods express resistance toward Vimalasitra. They show hostility. Humph. Hostility. Vimalasitra stroked his chin with his hand and scoffed. I suppose it would be best. Vimalasitra gripped the black handle on his back. To pull out those foolish eyes that can't realize your opponent and judge your own strength. Vimalasitra brandished his sword. Although he had simply swung the sword in the air, the aftermath was far from simple. Crash. Do-do-do. Crash. Rumble. Like shooting stars, the stars illuminating the sky fell to the ground after an explosion. All the divine beings exposed to Vimalasitra's trajectory soared down in torn pieces. Black Gubatera has burst. The god, Arte, has been destroyed. The god, Ratu, has been destroyed. The god, Alardi, has been destroyed. Many gods fall. The gods near the fallen gods suffer from curses. Curses spread like a plague between the gods. Many gods are fearful. A few gods are shocked at Vimalasitra's newfound strength. The godly societies are shaken. The godly societies are in a confused state. The godly societies are in a horrified state. The leader of Malak, Metatron takes precaution against Vimalasitra and warns him not to disrupt the raid of Alpharon. The head of El, Infernal, Baal clicks his tongue and tells the demons not to get involved with Vimalasitra. Cernunnos continues to look at Vimalasitra with silent eyes. Vimalasitra smiled widely. He had worried that his sword-wielding skills would have diminished because he'd been training his mind and hadn't touched a sword for a while. However, it seemed his skills had improved if anything. Is it because I've been enlightened recently? Vimalasitra didn't know what it was, but it wasn't a bad thing. Now, he needed to get adjusted to this new feeling in holding the sword. And there was no better way to do that than spill some blood, and there just happened to be idiots glaring at him. Thump, thump, Vimalasitra struck down his sword again, as if to get rid of everything in his path to clean his way to Yianwu. What kind of person is the new future king of gods? Is he different from what I saw from above? Vimalasitra was so curious that his heart blazed. Is this the fountain of resentment? According to the legends, when the king of gods Kronos made Scythe, he had collected the universe's various treasures and minerals and dunked them in the fountain of resentment. There was nothing more known than that, so Yianwu was curious what the fountain of resentment was. Kronos had nonchalantly given a short explanation. It's purely the legends of achieved. Yianwu narrowed his eyes at the countless scenes and letters that surrounded him. There were so many scenes that he couldn't even begin to count them. One letter after another swam in the air, tightly filling up the space like a book. Recorded were the legends Kronos had built over eons and eons. Yianwu felt his body sink as if he was really inside a fountain. Adamant and darkness jade are required to create Scythe, but there's something more important. What is it? Before Yianwu set his plans in motion, Kronos had explained the process in creating Scythe to Yianwu. Restoring. The springs must be restored to their original state. Yianwu immediately understood what Kronos meant. Scythe itself was an artifact with great divinity, and it was based on Kronos' legends and divine ability. To restore its functions, Kronos' roots, the two springs, needed to be fixed first. The spring of death was completely restored, even strengthened, after you climbed to the throne of death. The concept of death you have already exceeds anything I achieved during my prime. However, the time of spring isn't at that state. It's because the power of time is rare and precious, which makes it hard to find gods with this ability. That's why you don't know where to start to restore it, isn't it? And you can't just carelessly do what you want with it. Since the spring of time has already been synchronized to Zhengwu's vestige, it's also quite different from what the Black King gave you, and from the path I walked to. The ability of time itself was removed from the Black King. The Black King was emptiness that had existed before the creation of the universe. He represented the condition of being, paused, when the concept of time didn't exist. Considering how time was a moving concept, it was the direct opposite of the Black King. Despite that, Kronos had the ability of time while he was the Black King's apostle. It wasn't from the Black King, but it was a power that Uranus had left behind to save Kronos from the demonism. It would be best if we could summon your grandfather to learn, but that isn't possible. Yi and Wu could feel the sadness in Kronos' voice as he spoke. After all, if Yi and Wu could use Summon of the Dead on Uranus, Kronos would probably be the most overjoyed. But that doesn't mean there isn't a way. Enter my legends. Since you've already absorbed my true body, if we're united as well, there should be no problem in you going in. We've been synchronized once too. Meet your grandfather there and learn about the ability of time. It was a novel way of thinking to enter Kronos' legends to learn the ability from someone they couldn't meet anymore. However, as Kronos said, it could have been the only way to fully restore the spring of time. And they didn't have much time now. Choose the legend you want to play from the following. 1. The Age with Gaia. 2. The Age of Quarrels. 3. The Age of a Lowly Adopted Son. 4. The Age of an Apostle. Warning: you are currently connected to a legend of an old being. The longer you are exposed to another's legends, the greater the threat of your ego disappearing. The time limit is marked. Current time limit: 12 hours. Finish all your tasks within the time limit. If you exceed the limit, your ego may be destroyed. The countdown begins. 12 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds _ 99. 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds _ 98. Yi and Wu didn't waste any time and chose the legend. The third option, the Age of a Lowly Adopted Son, has been chosen. The chosen legend is played. You will be given a part of Kronos' memories for a smooth progression. Whoosh! Yi and Wu felt his body becoming lighter as he was embraced in the familiar light. At the same time, he was curious why Kronos' legends were called the Fountain of Resentment. Will I be able to find out after experiencing this legend? With those thoughts, Yi and Wu slowly opened his eyes. Chapter 657 Scythe 7. 11 hours 58 minutes and 45 seconds _ 66. 11 hours 58 minutes and 45 seconds _ 65. Where is this? Upon opening his eyes, Yi and Wu tried to pin down his location. Since he had already played Kronos Legends before, accessing the time period he was in would allow for a smoother progression of events. A tent, however, Yi and Wu felt like he was in a vastly different Olympus than the one that had been present in most of Kronos' memories. Because Olympus had many gods who ruled over art, it was filled with marbled palaces with various sculptures and paintings. But he wasn't in such a place at all. He was in a large tent that one could probably see in an old battlefield of the past. Still, the tent was made of a luxurious material with beautiful patterns. Yi and Wu first released his holy power to search for Uranus. Suddenly, he was surrounded by a wave of heat, energy, and the remaining murderous auras on the battlefield. You have been heavily stimulated. The domain of fight quakes. Kronos legends are currently being played. The aforementioned domain has no relation to this legend, and it is forcefully cancelled. The domain of fight struggles to be let loose. The domain of fight trembles. What? Yi and Wu had never experienced such a thing before. The domain of fight was a legend he had built entirely with his own strength. It was almost never stimulated, no matter what happened, and it was easy to control as well. Surprised by its rough reaction, Yi and Wu quickly opened the tent and left, not able to grasp the time period he was in. Whoosh! At that moment, a pungent burnt smell pricked the end of his nose. Cough! It was such a pungent smell for even Yi and Wu, who had seen countless battles. Whoosh! His head hurt, and his chest felt constricted just from smelling it. His fingertips quivered, and his skin prickled. His heart thumped loudly. The domain of fight shakes turbulently. The domain of fight warns you that this is a dangerous place. The domain is cancelled because it has no relation to this legend. Beyond the ominous black-red sky filled with smoke there was a vast blackness. It wasn't something Yi and Wu could explain. It was just black, darkness that buried the presence of light. Like a blacked-out sphere, the dark thing filled the horizon and slowly moved in his direction, covering the sky, earth, and everything above it. Chills ran down Yi and Wu's back. Void. Abyss. No, it's darker than that. I can at least recognize those, but that's what is that? Yi and Wu recalled Kronos legends he had experienced and went over the incidents he'd heard of from Kronos, but he had never seen or heard of such a thing. He wondered if there was a legend that had been omitted from Kronos, or if he had been connected to the wrong place. There was one thing that came to his mind. The swamp. Yi and Wu thought of the swamp of darkness where Kronos and the demonism had first met. Although they looked completely different, the aura they exuded felt similar. Still, this wasn't the area where he had first discovered the swamp, and it definitely hadn't acted like that. Why are you out? I told you not to come out until I send someone. Yi and Wu finally looked away from the darkness when he heard a scolding voice from behind. It was a reprimanding voice, but one with warmth and concern nevertheless. Standing there was someone he had seen many times in Kronos legends, Oceanus, who was the oldest of Kronos' siblings. After Uranus lost his power, Oceanus and Theia fought against each other, leading to Olympus' civil war. However, Oceanus was a soft-tempered being who despised war and loved peace. When Kronos caused trouble, Oceanus was the first to defend him, and he understood Kronos' unfortunate situation. After Kronos became the Black King's apostle, Oceanus willingly gave up his position and announced his retirement. Father was apathetic when speaking about the other brothers, but he stressed that Oceanus is someone worthy of respect. Yi and Wu narrowed his eyes. But no one knows of his whereabouts after he retired during Kronos' rule and even during Zeus' age. Since all the gods of the universe were trapped in the tower, Oceanus had definitely been trapped along with them, but according to Athena, Oceanus had never appeared in Olympus even after that. No one knew if Oceanus had been destroyed after going through misfortune events or if he had left the heavenly world to live normally as a mortal. He was shrouded in mystery. But that was back in reality, and Yi and Wu didn't forget that he was currently in Kronos Legends and was acting as a young Kronos. 11 hours 45 minutes and 23 seconds _ 31. 11 hours 45 minutes and 23 seconds _ 30. Even now, the clock was ticking. It was frustrating to stay inside. Yi and Wu answered with something Kronos would say, and Oceanus sighed heavily before laughing wryly. Ha, please, don't do that. If you cause trouble here, it won't be you who's scolded by father, but the people around you. Oceanus spoke like a benevolent older brother rebuking his troublesome youngest sibling. Yi and Wu paid no mind to it. Father, I see even a troublemaker like you is afraid of father. I guess it's understandable, since he said this time he'll crush your legs if you. Where is father? There's something I want to tell him. I'm in a hurry. Yi and Wu cut Oceanus off mid-sentence. Oceanus, expression turned solemn. You know father doesn't have time to deal with you, I mean, us. With the night running rampant right now, father and the elders are very irritable right now. Night seemed to be how they referred to darkness. Now, Yi and Wu wondered if Uranus was irritable because he was fighting that thing. Still, he said, I still have to go. Fine. Oceanus sighed again, as if there was nothing he could do to persuade Yi and Wu, and smiled tiredly. His youngest sibling had never listened to him. Since he could never know what Kronos was thinking, he just shrugged it over as another one of those cases. However, he felt like he'd also be beaten up because Uranus was already sensitive enough, so he planned to leave in the middle. 11 hours 29 minutes and 42 seconds _ 91. 11 hours 29 minutes and 42 seconds _ 90. With Oceanus' help, Yi and Wu reached the center of the large military base. So you don't have any complaints if you die here? Uranus, please listen to us. Why is it only us who has to deal with the night? I don't understand. He's right, the other societies, demons, and dragons are just watching on. My ears hurt. Okay, are you done speaking your last words now? Uranus, please. Splash. Uranus, with his long white hair flying in the wind, instantly slashed the throats of the pleading captives in front of him. Their blood spurted, and heads with horrified expressions rolled on the ground. Tisk. The blood got onto my shoes. I forgot to change into another pair. I really like these. Should I order another one? Even after accomplishing such a grotesque feat, Uranus didn't bat an eyelid. He was more concerned about his leather shoes. He's as gruff as I expected. So that's my grandfather. Yi and Wu remembered how Uranus punched Kronos mercilessly in the past and shook his head. His father's temper was definitely inherited from his grandfather. I'm the only one who's normal in this household, geez. I need to keep everyone in check. Shannon would have had a disgusted face if he heard what Yi and Wu was thinking as he approached Uranus. Oceanus had already left, saying he was busy after dropping Yi and Wu off. What is it? I'm sure I told you not to leave the tent until things are finished. Uranus frowned when he saw Yi and Wu. He acted as if he'd fillet Yian-Wu if he said he came out because he was curious. This place is. Fortunately, there was something Kronos told Yian-Wu to say during instances like this. Please allow me to learn. Please allow me to learn Numa's sky. What? Uranus widened his eyes with a stiff expression, as if he heard something he hadn't expected. Numa's sky. What's that? I don't know. What? I don't know either. A flashback of Yian-Wu's conversation with Kronos ran through his head. He remembered Kronos' uncaring expression. It's something your grandfather told me when I was learning about holy power and domains after he retired. He said this would be the spell, if I or any of my descendants needed to meet his shadow. He said he'd listen to whatever request with these words. You, how did you? Uranus's gaze wavered. The gods and elders near him looked panicked. Why is it, your majesty? Has your youngest son caused trouble again? Kronos, what have you done this time for Lord Uranus to be like this? I thought things would go quietly this time. A few even growled at Yian-Wu, but Yian-Wu didn't have the time to care about them. 11 hours 27 minutes and 56 seconds _ 76. 11 hours 27 minutes and 56 seconds _ 75. Time was still ticking. Please help me. I have no time. Although Yian-Wu didn't know what Numa's sky was, since it was something required to restore the spring of time, it could take a long time. Uranus composed himself after reading Yian-Wu's serious eyes and spoke to the elders around him. Everyone leave. But, please. Only then did the elders leave the two alone. Then, Uranus spoke with piercing eyes and a frigid voice. Who are you?